Hey there, Twitch. Hope everybody's having a good day so far. Sorry about those technical difficulties earlier. Still trying to figure things out with the new computer. But as you can see, those big clunky headphones that I had are they're now gone. Finally got the Bluetooth dongle for this new machine, so I can use my trusty old wireless headset. So anyway, hey there, Killer Deluxe. Hope you're doing well. How's everything? JK FSDA, good to see you too. I always fail to spell your name when I try to watch the live stream. Yeah, paleontologizing isn't the easiest word in the world, I suppose. Music a bit too loud, thank you. Let's see. How's that? Is that better? I'm sure it's better, but is that ideal, or should I tweak it a little bit more? Let me know. Anyway, so good to see everybody. More? Thanks. Alright, how's that? You can say more again, it's fine. You're not gonna be annoying or anything. You need to get the music levels right. His name should pop up on the left when he's live if you're following him. That's true, yeah. I think you're following, aren't you? JKF? Showers, my hair's all chwacko, as my dad would say. Still loud and shoot. I wonder if... Does this help? I'm turning down the system audio. Tell me if that makes it any better. Come on, music. Hang on. New computer difficulties. Music stopped. I know. Okay, how's this now? I can hear it. Can you hear it? Good? Is that good like better, or good like we can move on? This is acceptable now. Good level. Thank you. Alright, thank you for being here. Let's see. We can move on. Thank you, Killer Deluxe. Alright, so welcome to Paleontologizing. We've got a lot of stuff planned for today's stream, but I'm really glad that you're here. It's gonna be a pretty good time. So I've got some fossil news that we can go over. We might do some dinosaurs of the day too, and then I have some really cool new stuff to share with you. I just embarked on a new project. With some 3D modeling and printing, but I'll give you a little bit of background on that first. I put a little presentation together, which should be pretty neat. And then after that, we might do some sculpting. And also, if you guys ask real nice, maybe we'll actually play a video game. It'll be my my first one here on stream. If you don't count the Google no internet working game, with the little hopping theropod that jumps over the cactuses. Anyway, yeah, that would be kind of cool. Add them all together. Hey, good to see ya. So yeah, let's jump into some news. Turn the music up so I can hear it. Hopefully it doesn't screw it up on your end. Anyway, how's everybody doing today? Let me know in chat. You having a good day? Is the weather okay? Let's see here. Ooh, okay. So I'm surprised at the amount of news that there's been since yesterday, when I was going over a few things. Oh, there was one thing that I went over yesterday, but hardly anybody was here, so I might as well revisit it. And somebody sent this to me too. Let's see. Arctic dinosaur. Full coverage. I'm going to try and find this on the phys.org. That should work. I think it's maybe the same one that we saw yesterday. But here's some pretty exciting news. We now have a new Alaskan dromaeosaur. Dromaeosaurs are the small carnivorous dinosaurs, the raptor dinosaurs that you probably know from films like Jurassic Park. They include Deinonychus and Velociraptor, actually both of whose skulls we have right up there. There's the Deinonychus skull spinning around, and then a Velociraptor skull as well. So this new one is a juvenile from, I guess, within the Arctic Circle of Alaska, which is a pretty important find for a number of reasons. And look, doesn't really look like very much. It's a fragment of a dentary. That's the lower jawbone in dinosaurs. You can see a little tooth erupting there. Those beautiful little serrations for cutting through flesh. And, yeah, it was published in the journal PLOS One, which is really nice. That means it's open access, so you can read it, Chad, if you want to. Ooh, and look at this lovely illustration. Maybe I can make that bigger, just like this. There we go. Yeah. We've got some Pachyrhinosaurus. These are curiously horned dinosaurs that don't have horns. They have this big nasal boss. And these little guys, these are the dromaeosaurs. They basically look like big, weird, ground-running eagles, which we'll also see later today if we end up playing Saurian. But yeah, the really important thing about this is this provides evidence that dinosaurs that lived way up within the Arctic Circle were not actually migrating out of it during the winter months. They were staying up there year-round, it seems like. Otherwise, we wouldn't have juvenile dromaeosaurs preserved there. So one of the ideas is that basically when the going got tough, the dinosaurs just migrated south to avoid the cold temperature and the snow. This made a lot of sense back in like the 1970s and 80s, when a lot of people still thought the dinosaurs were cold-blooded. Now we know better. Most of them were probably what we would call warm-blooded. So they would not have had difficulty staying warm up there, especially since many of them were actually coated with feathers, just like these dromaeosaurs. We've got very good evidence that dinosaurs like these dromaeosaurs, Velociraptor, Deinonychus, were completely coated with feathers. They would have looked like big, weird, ground-running birds, like I just talked about. Link, please, Adam Altogether is saying. Let's see. If you just go to Google News and just search Alaska dinosaur, and you'll find it. Pretty much every major news agency's picked it up by now. So, yeah, pretty cool. And also, this is another paper that was published by my friend Alessandro Chiarenza. We were talking about him with the meteorite impact study, which is just a few days ago. And now he's got another publication. That's pretty exciting, I think. We were talking about maybe having him here on stream if we can organize that. But, yeah, anywho. It's, I think that would be pretty neat for him to be able to discuss both of those new papers. So I need to talk to him about that. We'll figure out the time difference between here and Europe. He's either in Italy or England right now. Either way, the time difference is going to be kind of screwy, but I bet you we can figure it out. So, moving away from dinosaurs, we also have horseshoe crabs in the news, which I think is pretty interesting. And we're going to do kind of a deep dive on this. Horseshoe crabs are really, really fascinating animals. Let's see. And so, yeah, this seems like it was actually written by the researchers, which is pretty neat. This is Living Fossils. We mapped 500 million years of horseshoe crabs to save them from blood harvests. It's a surprisingly macabre end to that statement. I'm just going to read kind of some of this verbatim because I think it's really interesting. If you venture to the New York seaside in summer, you might see a large dome-shaped animal with a spiky tail slowly moving towards the water. These are horseshoe crabs, the animals time forgot. It's kind of a cheesy way to put it, but it's true. Fossil records for horseshoe crabs extend back about 480 million years. This is well over 200 million years before the dinosaurs. It's true, about 250 million years before the dinosaurs. More recently, horseshoe crabs have greatly helped advance modern medicine. Their blood is used to identify endotoxins in solutions. These are toxins found in bacteria, so anyone who has an injection or surgery has been kept safe from dangerous toxins thanks to these creatures. Blue blood, right? Yeah, that's right, Adam, altogether. We're going to see that in just a minute when we watch a video. You've caught those before, Mayor Space? Those have got to be like American Atlantic horseshoe crabs. You probably have them down there in Florida, huh? He's trying to catch blue crabs. Oh, well, you caught some blue-blooded arthropods instead. Let's see. Sounds like a monologue from the beginning of a Jurassic Park film centered around horseshoe crabs. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Some of this we're gonna go over in a minute, so I can skip this part. Wow. Between 6 and 15% of horseshoe crabs die from harvesting. Yeah. This is the part that's really cool. To help raise awareness about the challenges horseshoe crabs face, we created an atlas of all fossil and living Xiphosaura. Xiphosaura is the group that horseshoe crabs belong to, modern horseshoe crabs. This free online access collection contains photos of every horseshoe crab species ever described in the group's 480 million year history. Alongside the photos, we provide outlines of how the 4 living species survived until now. Building this atlas took 3 years and involved emailing more than 100 researchers and museum managers, and even traveling from Australia to England, Germany, Russia, Slovenia, and the US to collect photographs. The result is an example of every single horseshoe crab species ever documented, living or extinct, more than 110 in total. And here it is, right here. Let's scroll up to the top. Pictorial Atlas of Fossil and Extant Horseshoe Crabs, with focus on Xiphosaurida. Really cool. So this is an awesome resource if you're interested in these animals. And there's this lovely figure right here that I wanted to look at. Let's see. Let me move this so you can see. There's a time scale going all the way back in the Ordovician up to the present here. Mesozoic, this is the age of reptiles, the age of dinosaurs. And here's the Cenozoic, the age of mammals. And so as you can see, these blue lines, they stretch in this direction because this is where they originate and then they go extinct right here where those lines cut off. So you have these major extinction events that occur where a lot of these species go extinct. And then, move that down there. You have only a few that survive into the Cretaceous and just a couple of lineages, actually maybe just one lineage, Limulus, that extends to today. I guess this dotted line must be like, these must be single species right here. I think there's like 2 or 3 species still left in existence. But horseshoe crabs are such interesting animals. It is a relatively small percentage, yeah. I don't know if you're referring to, because I missed that earlier when you posted it in Mayorspace, if you're referring to the number that are still surviving today or the number that survived being blood harvested. But let's take a look at some of these creatures in action, because they are really cool to look at. A little bit creepy, but I think we can appreciate them just based on how cool they are as animals. Number that survived the harvest, I know, right? Yeah. They are so bizarre, just completely otherworldly. Look at those legs coming out from under the shell. And I think these look kind of like eyes right here. And I think that's actually, those are like photoreceptors. I don't know if they actually form an image like our eyes do. I don't know if they actually have a lens in there. But I think they can perceive light. So they know which way is up. They know when it's nighttime or daytime. And look at all those little legs in there. So bizarre. Look at that. And they've got this nice hinge right here. I don't know if you'd call this a pygidium like you would in trilobites, the tail section, but then it's got a proper tail that comes out of there. All these spikes. Is it copper in their blood? It is! We're going to see that in just a second, Adam. Yeah. That's so cool how they don't get swept away by the tide, too. There's probably hydrodynamic qualities in the shape of their shell that prevents them from getting carried off like that. Hey, Lordy! We're looking at some horseshoe crabs. So good to see you, Lordy. I hope you're doing well. Yeah. Oop. So let me pause my music, and we're gonna watch this video real quick. Tell me if this gets too loud. That's nuts. Those poor things. Oh, hang on, you can't hear it all? Let's see. No sound. Why would that be? Let's see. Desktop audio. There we go. That's why. Let's try it again. Thank you, chat, for being so vocal about that. I appreciate it. All right, let's try now. Are we good? Shoot. Let's see. Audio output capture 2. Headphones. Let's try this again. Again, I just got onto a new desktop computer here, so I can finally do some streaming and some more intense streaming and some gaming. I'm still kind of figuring out a lot of these settings. Let's try it now.
This bluish liquid is one of the most expensive resources in the world.
What do you think?
No, it's not the blue milk from Star Wars. It's
All
actually
right.
blood from a horseshoe crab. And the stuff this blood makes costs $60,000 a gallon.
Holy cow.
So why is it so expensive? And who's buying horseshoe crab blood? The blue color comes from copper in the blood.
Just like Adam
That's
said.
not its most interesting feature. The blood contains a special clotting agent. It's used to make a concoction called limulus amoebocyte lysate, or LAL.
That's interesting. The limulus part in that is actually the genus name for horseshoe crabs. That is their scientific name, Limulus. I think it's Limulus. I don't think it's Limulus. But anyway, yeah.
Called limulus amoebocyte lysate, or
Yeah, Limulus.
LAL.
Or no, Limulus.
Before LAL, scientists had no easy way of knowing whether a vaccine or medical tool was contaminated with bacteria, like E. coli or Salmonella. Scientists would inject vaccines into huge numbers of rabbits and then basically wait for symptoms to show up. But when LAL was approved for use in 1970, it changed everything. Drop a minuscule amount of it onto a medical device or vaccine, and the LAL will encase any gram-negative bacteria in a jelly cocoon. While it can't kill the bacteria, the jelly seal is like a fire alarm, alerting us to the presence of what could become a potentially lethal infection and prevent it from spreading.
That's a pretty good
Each year,
explanation.
the medical industry catches around 600,000 horseshoe crabs.
Holy cow, that's a
The
lot.
crabs are drained of 30% of their blood, and up to
Ugh.
30% of the crabs don't live through the process. The survivors are returned to the water, but no one really knows how well or if they recover. In 2016, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature bumped the American horseshoe crab up to vulnerable on its red list, one step below endangered.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute, too. But moldy skinkax, Limulus, where did the name come from? Is it some Latin translation or something? Let's look that up real quick. Limulus. Limulus polyphemus. Helmet crab, turnkim crab, blah, blah, blah. Well, let's just Google it. Limulus name meaning. Limulus means askew. Interesting. Right there. And Polyphemus refers to the giant. Isn't that the giant in the Odyssey, Polyphemus? The one that Odysseus, like, gouges out his eye with a wooden stake? Limulus means askew, and Polyphemus refers to the giant in Greek mythology. Which giant was that? Yeah, one-eyed son of Poseidon. one of the Cyclops described in Homer's Odyssey. Okay. Neat. Well, there's your answer, Moldy Skink. 30% not surviving is way too high. Exactly, right. And these are creatures that are already not doing super well because of climate change and a number of other things. Yeah, let's keep watching.
And the U.S. population could keep falling by as much as 30% over the next 40 years.
Oh, holy cow.
LAL labs claim that the returned crabs eventually recover, but new evidence suggests that's not always the case. Wynne Watson is trying to figure out what happens to the crabs when they're put back in the sea.
So the most immediate negative effect is mortality. Anywhere from 10 to 25% of the animals will die within the first couple of days after you bleed them.
Ugh.
Bled crabs become disoriented and weak for a period of time, and
I would be
females
too,
may have trouble
jeez.
spawning.
If they survive the first, we'll say 2 weeks, and they're back in their natural habitat, they did pretty well.
But it's getting through those 2 weeks that's the issue.
Based on our data and others, I think that you need to treat them a little. If you're going to get increase your survival rate, right, you need to treat them better.
Scientists are trying to find a synthetic alternative to help reduce the strain on the horseshoe crab population. But so far, LAL is still required by the FDA for this type of testing. So if these animals really aren't recovering at the rate companies previously thought, we might eventually run out of crabs to bleed.
Ugh.
If that happens, our lives, and the lives of countless rabbits, might be at risk.
Ugh. They're not pretty to look at, but they are so important. I know 30% is nuts. So right here, I've got the IUCN page, the IUCN Red List. The what does IUCN stand for? Conservation. Anyway, this is like basically the organization that monitors different living things and makes tallies and determines what's considered endangered and what's considered, doing just fine. So here we've got the scale. Let's zoom in on this so you can see a little bit better. There we go. Vulnerable. That's not doing so hot, especially since endangered is right here, and then critically endangered means they're at like immediate risk of extinction and almost certainly going to go extinct. Let's see. LC is least concern. That's your things like, I don't know, animals and other creatures that you see all over the place. Things like pigeons, rats. Those would be least concern. It would take something really terrible to threaten them. But if you're vulnerable, that means there's not a whole lot of you out there, and it might only take a small push to either, make you endangered or drive you into extinction. All it might take is like a few really, really bad years for spawning or high temperatures or lack of food or something like that, and then you could just disappear. Why can't they breed them? I think people have tried and it doesn't really work. Because horseshoe crabs will actually spawn en masse. They're kind of like salmon in that regard, where they'll all like return to the same beach every single year and they'll lay their eggs, and then either it's a good year and most of the young make it into the ocean, or it's a bad year and most of them don't make it. I don't think they really breed readily in captivity. We should check on that, though. Let's see. But anyway, we'll do that right after this. So if you're ever curious about the conservation status of any living thing here on Earth, you can check out the IUCN Red List. Let's see. We'll click Vulnerable. And it'll give you... Oh, here's a bunch of different creatures that are all listed as vulnerable. But there are really detailed assessments from really, really passionate people. People who devote their lives to the study and conservation of these creatures. And they work really hard to make sure that we have good information about this. The thought process being that the more that we know, the more that, policymakers will hopefully step in and try and save these creatures. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the way that the world is moving right now, which is really unfortunate. Yeah, anyway, this is a great resource if you're ever curious about any particular creature. I'd highly recommend taking a look at it. But let's take a look at, let's just Google search. Can horseshoe crabs be bred in captivity? Let's see. Breeding, there we go. Let's see, so to answer your question, JKF, during the breeding season, horseshoe crabs migrate to shallow coastal waters, like we were just talking about. Let's see. Eggs get fertilized. Female digs a hole in the sand, lays her eggs, and then the males fertilize them. Natural breeding of horseshoe crabs in captivity has proven to be difficult. Some evidence indicates that mating takes place only in the presence of the sand or mud in which the horseshoe crab's eggs were hatched. Interesting, and I'm sure we have no idea why. It is not known with certainty what is in the sand that the crabs can sense or how they sense it, of course. Artificial insemination and induced spawning have been done on a relatively large scale in captivity, and eggs and juveniles collected from the wild are often raised to adulthood in captivity. Interesting. Yeah, I really hope it doesn't come to that, though, because if that's the only way to save these things from extinction, then, like, all of these other creatures that feed on them are also going to be severely hurt. Because when they do have their mass spawning like that, the eggs and then the young, when the young hatch and then they move back into the sea, that is like a smorgasbord for all kinds of different sea life. Seabirds, turtles will eat horseshoe crabs. They're a really, really important food source. I think I want to say that whale sharks will also eat them in Asia. Yeah, so basically, if they're not a part of that ecosystem anymore, everything else suffers too. So we might save ourselves and be able to continue harvesting this blood for medical purposes, but still, it would be a massive loss for biodiversity. A tragic loss, in my opinion. Oh yeah, and Killer Deluxe, you're absolutely right. I'm sure cost is a major consideration there. This is least concerns as pigeons, completely ignores passenger pigeons. Oh yeah, Moldy Skink, don't remind me. No, oops. It's funny, I had pigeons on the brain this morning because when I was outside having breakfast out on the balcony, I spotted some of our resident peregrine falcons, and one of them had caught some prey and was bringing it back to this really tall structure and was just munching away at it. I think it caught a pigeon. So I was watching through the spotting scope for a while. There was some sort of bird that was nearly the same size as it. It could have been a pigeon. I couldn't quite tell. I could only see the underside of its wings, kind of flailing about as the falcon was tearing chunks off of it. But yeah, anyway, the passenger pigeon, I'm sure we'll do a segment on that at some point in the future, because it is such a tragic story. And that really was a creature that, they were so incredibly common, nobody thought they could ever possibly go extinct. And then people hunted them to extinction. Just like that. It was... it's just heartbreaking to think about. So let's move on. We've got some other happier news. Let's see what we got here. Saw a seal eat a seagull the other day. Interesting. Kind of unrelated, but thought it was... Yeah, definitely. I've never seen a marine mammal catch and eat a bird before. Was it a seal or a sea lion? I was lucky enough to see a harbor seal the other day. I even snapped a photo of it. But, yeah. Anyway. Do you know how to tell the difference between a seal and a sea lion, by the way? I was talking about this just a few days ago. We've got another piece of news right here. Let's check this out. Ears, yeah. That's the easiest way to tell if they're in the water. Although I think some species of seal, they're called eared seals, actually have ears too. But usually that's a straightforward way. Don't think we have sea lions over here, so I'm guessing it was a seal. Where's that, Moldy Skink? I forget where you're at. Oh, Ireland. Yeah, I don't know if you get sea lions. We get California sea lions here in California. Um, but yeah, I bet you it was a seal. I bet you're right. Anyway, this just popped up today in the New York Times. And we were just talking about this the other day in the stream. So, how a saber-toothed marsupial blinded us with its bite. And that actually seems like it's an error, because I don't think Thylacosmilus is technically a marsupial. I think it's related to them, but it falls just outside that group. And here we've got some classic saber-toothed creatures. We've got Smilodon right here, just like a 3D print that I keep showing off because I'm so proud of it. Yeah, let's take a look at that real quick. I really got to paint this thing. It does look really cool like this, but it needs a paint job so it looks a little more authentic. But yeah, take a look at those canines. So this will be a useful visual aid when we're discussing this, because I actually have some... I think I might have some issues with this study, chat. Yeah, and there's Thylacosmilus. So this is the creature in question that they're calling a marsupial. And it's got these almost like scabbards for a sword right here that seem to be like a protective part of its chin to keep those saber fangs from getting cracked. Anyway, so this is talking about this new study, and it was reported in the journal PeerJ, which, lucky for us, is an open access journal. So anybody here in chat, you can pull this up and read it yourself if you want to. Yeah, so basically, what they're saying in this study is that they think that this creature, Thylacosmilus, is very different from Smilodon in the way that it caught its prey, and they think it's primarily a scavenger rather than a hunter. Let's see. Our results indicate that despite its impressive canines, the marsupial sabertooth was not the ecological analog to placental sabertooths. Placental means like non-marsupials. These are mammals that don't have pouches. And likely did not use its canines to dispatch its prey. This oft-cited example of convergence requires reconsideration, and T. atrox, that's Thylacosmilus atrox, may have had a unique type of ecology among mammals. It very well may be different in the way that it was using its fangs, but to suggest that it wasn't actively predating with its fangs, I think they still have yet to demonstrate that. Because that's the thing about creatures like Smilodon here, is that we, and when I say we, I guess I mean paleontologists in general. I don't work on mammals, so it's maybe not a we that includes me in particular. But from what I understand, basically paleomammalogists still don't really understand how Smilodon used its fangs. There's a lot of competing ideas as to what exactly these were used for. I mean, were they used kind of like the canine teeth of modern lions and tigers, where they're just used to kind of sink into the neck and help crush the windpipe of their prey? Or were they used kind of like scimitars for kind of slicing open the bellies of, giant ground sloths and bison and stuff like that? Or was it something else? We don't really know, and until we figure that out, saying that, oh, well, the fangs look a little bit different on Thylacosmilus, so it must not have been a predator in the same way that Smilodon is, it doesn't seem to stand to reason. I still have yet to read the entire paper, but I don't know. I've got my doubts so far. And Moldy Skincast, don't think we have sea lions over here? Oh yeah. What is my favorite theory about it? You know what? I don't have enough information. I don't feel like I know enough to really warrant an opinion about this. I don't really know a whole lot about saber-toothed cats, so my opinion isn't worth much. You don't want to know my opinion, chat. In fact, I don't even know if I know my opinion. But I know that this new study seems a little fishy to me. Elephants aren't predators, but have big tusks. Yeah, but their tusks are, like, completely different. Yeah, so, Adam, elephant tusks they're not fangs in the same sense. Yeah. Another example might be walruses. Walruses have those big old tusks that are kind of analogous to Smilodon fangs. They're also canine teeth. They also stick straight down like that. But, Yeah, and walruses, I think, mostly use them as like stabilizers when they're shoving their snouts down into the mud to suck up mollusks and stuff like that. And I think they'll also like scrape them along the bottom to kind of dredge up sea life. But yeah, it doesn't seem like Thylacismilus was doing that. Definitely not an aquatic animal. And it doesn't seem like Smilodon was doing that either. But I don't know. More work is needed. Hey, Astronaut's here. Good to see ya. How you doing? Hope you're having a good day. Angled up for defense. That's right. Instead of down for attack. Yeah, and elephants will use their tusks for all kinds of things too. They'll use them for digging. They'll use them for display. They'll fight amongst themselves, like intraspecific fights. Intimidation tactics. Yeah. I've cracked the mystery. Oh, you mean for Thylacismilus? It's just intimidation. That would be a difficult hypothesis to test, but yeah, I don't know. Ooh. Anywho, and then what do we have next? Oh, we've got this. Is this a rabbit hole we want to go down right now? Maybe. Here, hang on just a minute. Let me check something. Okay. Get ready to tear your hair out, chat. Let's take a look at this. This also popped up in the news today. Ranching meets dinosaur hunting in Wyoming. This is an article. It's basically just about that new Discovery Channel show, Dino Hunters. And unfortunately for us, there's a link to the show right here. And I'm debating whether or not we should click this and watch the first episode. It is freely available online. So I don't think I can get DMCA'd for that or anything like that. But, yeah, if you're not familiar with this show, it's about these like amateur fossil collectors and dealers who are basically digging up fossils, not for scientific purposes, but, to make money. And there's a lot of really bad science associated with it. And I don't know. As somebody who collects for museums, and for the benefit of science and public knowledge, it kind of hurts my heart to see this. And also, I believe very strongly that, as a wise man once said, it's fossils are part of our natural, like, collective heritage. They teach us about the world around us, and they're too important to be, owned by one person and just kind of hoarded like that. You wouldn't do the same thing with, like, cultural artifacts from native cultures. Why would you do that with, the fossils of ancestral creatures or, the things that were walking around at the same time as our ancestors back during the Mesozoic? This is part of collective human knowledge. Anyway, Armchair Astronaut, you're real good? Oh. Family snagged a piece of the Murchison meteorite? Wow, that sounds, if it has a name like that, it sounds pretty prominent. Huh. So happy. Even has fusion crust on it? Wow, holy cow. I can't wait to look at that later. I don't think I can open that in... Well, let's see. Oh! Wow, I can. Neat. Super cool. Wow. Well, is this like a nickel meteorite? Is it iron? What kind is it? DNC, do not click. Belongs in a museum. I think meteorites are common enough that you can't necessarily glean too much information from each one. Although there are some really nifty meteorites in museums that I've seen. One of the most rare and studied pieces, 7 billion-year-old stardust. Wow. And the first detection of sugars in meteorites. How big is the original, bolide? Is it... If this is a chunk of it, I'm guessing it's probably pretty large if you got your hands on a chunk this big. That's really neat. CM2 classification? I don't even know what that is. Is that like a size class? I've been lurking, but hello to everyone. 7 Francis? Hey! I'm glad you're here. You're new here, right? Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. We're gonna have a good time. That piece is 0.606 grams. Wow, that's a pretty decent chunk. Although meteorites are very, very heavy, because they're basically, nickel or iron or that kind of thing. So it's really beautiful, though. Super neat. A newbie. Well, welcome. I'm really glad you're here. No, DNC to Dino Hunters. The meteorite is cool. Gotcha. All right. Thanks, Arle. Maybe we'll look at that tomorrow or something. But yeah, I would like to actually gather some more information about this sort of thing and be able to articulate my points a little bit more eloquently, rather than just getting mad and, tearing my beard off. Oh, good song. I used to play this in the field on my ukulele. I read an article on Spinosaurus in Science News last week. Any thoughts? Ooh, I've got lots of thoughts on that. Seven Francis. It's, I got a lot of issues with it, and that's something that's of particular interest to me, because I work on Spinosaurs, and I've got an upcoming publication on them. I keep saying that. I got to contact my co-author and tell him that I'm ready to work on it again, so we can get the darn thing published. But you will be hearing about that in the future if you keep coming back to these streams. And and click the follow button if you haven't already, so that way you get notified.
Dig up dinosaurs.
Let's see. Wow, that was really fast. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Hey, Kitty. What's up, Paleontologizing? Just doing some paleontologizing. What's up with you? Glad you're here. We just went over some fossil news, so I'm not going to go over that again. So if you want to see it, you can look in the VOD. But we've got a few other things that we're going to be doing. I might do some dinosaurs of the day real quick. And then, oh yeah, and then I've got that. I put together a little slideshow for y'all. So that's going to be cool. Yeah, let's do some dinosaurs of the day real fast. Long day of political nonsense. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's... the world's a crazy place right now. Politics is definitely not an exception. Holy cow. Anyway, let's spin the wheel of dinosaurs right here. I've got this wheel with 50 randomly selected dinosaurs out of a list of pretty much every dinosaur genus ever published. The vast majority of these, maybe not the vast majority, but maybe 2/3 of them are going to be no good, invalid genera. But let's spin it and see what we get, and we'll see if I know what it is off the top of my head. There's about 2,000 or 3,000 dinosaurs that have been named at this point, so I'm not going to know all of them, especially if they're more recently named or if they're based on really scrappy material. But yeah, Wheel of Dinosaurs. When you think of the Wheel of Fish from UHF, I've never seen UHF, but I've heard good things. Red Letter Media just released a review of it, so maybe I'll take a look at that. If it looks interesting, I'll watch it. Anyway, let's spin the Wheel of Dinosaurs. Lepidus. I don't know what Lepidus is. It sounds like Lepidotes, which is that coelacanth fish from the Wealden Formation of England. Lepidus. If I had to take a guess, I'm going to say this is some kind of weird European ornithopod. Wild guess. But let's see. If I'm a Weird Al fan, it's a must-watch. I definitely used to be a Weird Al fan. Maybe I'll check it out. Put it on my list. Lepidus. Dinosaur. Oh, it's a theropod! Oh no! It's a genus of extinct Coelophysoidean theropod. Of course it's extinct. It's from the Upper Triassic of the United States. Is this another one of those... It's just Coelophysis, but it looks slightly different, so somebody gave it a new name. Oh, it's named by Sterling Nesbitt. Okay. Decided it warranted a new taxon. Genus name is Latin for fascinating. Interesting. And the species name is Latin for fragment or scrap. Wow. That's an ankle? Is that really diagnostic, Sterling? It's a sister taxon of Coelophysis. That would also make sense if it is just Coelophysis. Lepidus was one of 18 dinosaur taxa from 2015 to be described in open access or free-to-read journals. That's a good thing to hear. So yeah, why don't we take a look at the original paper then? Oh, and it's from Texas. Okay. I think its likelihood of actually being a new genus just one up a notch. Specification of extinct. I presume they have to, though. They don't in all of the articles, Moldy Skink. I think it's that's probably something that like some Wikipedia editors insist upon, and others are like, "Why would you say it's extinct? It's a non-avian dinosaur." Anywho, yeah. So I was at Berkeley at the same time that Sterling Nesbitt was finishing up. Let's see. This dinosaur record from the stratigraphically lowest portion of the Upper Triassic deposits of Western North America is poor and only consists of a handful of fragmentary hind limb elements. Okay, so if it is from a different stratigraphic position than Coelophysis, then I would buy that this is probably a different animal. If only that, there was probably some anagenesis along the way, and you could call it a different chronospecies at the very least. Stratigraphic position of the locality, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, the new specimen represents one of the oldest neotheropods. Okay, I'm convinced. This is probably, yeah, totally legit. I'm on board. Good work, Sterling. All right, neat. Well, I just learned about a new dinosaur. How often does that happen, chat? That's, I think that's pretty exciting. Why did it belong... Well, why did it being found in Texas increase reputability? Oh, because everything from Texas is more reputable, right? Everything makes more sense in Texas. No, it's because Coelophysis, which is like the classic Coelophysoid, look him up real quick, is from New Mexico. There's a lovely illustration of Coelophysis right there. That's a pretty good one. It may have actually had feathers. We don't really know. Let's see. Ooh, beautiful. Oh, and you can actually buy this one. This is from Safari Limited, which is that toy maker. Pretty nifty. Anyway, yeah, this is one of the first very well-known theropod dinosaurs. There was a site discovered in New Mexico, a place called Ghost Ranch, where there are literally hundreds of these guys that all seem to have died, maybe in a flash flood, maybe they died during a drought or something like that, but they were all buried in the same place, and they seem to be all from the same time. And so we actually have a whole bunch of different specimens, and we can get a good sense of like individual variation, how they changed as they aged and that kind of thing. Like how the young look different from the adults, which is really exciting. Coelophysis is actually one of the better known dinosaurs. Yeah, but Coelophysis is from New Mexico, and there have been a whole bunch of other Coelophysoid, like very similar dinosaurs that have been named, where it turns out like, yeah, they're probably just Coelophysis too, and you just wanted to name a new taxon. It happens a lot. So anyway, yeah. So the fact that it's from Texas, and it looks like it's from older rocks than from Coelophysis, my confidence that it probably is a new dinosaur is much, much, much higher. Although when I say new dinosaur, it could very well just be that it is a dinosaur that evolved into Coelophysis. So it might be the same lineage. And where you actually draw the line between, like, is this a new species or is it not, if it's the same lineage evolving over time with no splitting events or anything, that all gets kind of hazy. So, yeah, and different paleontologists and taxonomists will have, quarrels over what constitutes a new species and what doesn't. New species or new genus. So yeah, anywho. Do we know much about the range of many dinosaurs? Unrelated question, but it's been on my mind for a little bit. Excellent question, Moldy Skink. Yeah, we don't, for the most part. It's a really complicated question to ask, because if you find a dinosaur in, say, North America, and then you think you've also found the same thing in Asia, you've got to make sure that they're from the same exact time. Because if they're not, then they're very well, could be marked differences in their anatomy that you didn't pick up, because maybe you don't have the same parts of both animals preserved. So yeah, we don't really know about the range of most dinosaurs, with a few... I guess there are a few classic exceptions to that. One of them would be like Triceratops. We've got Triceratops from North America, but from Montana, North and South Dakota, Wyoming, Colorado, possibly Utah, and a few other states too. So it seems to be pretty widespread. And I guess there are a few other, like Tyrannosaurus is kind of the same. I guess dinosaurs from the very end of the Cretaceous. We've got them from broad swaths of North America. But yeah, there are a lot of debates as to whether something that was found on one continent is actually the same as another dinosaur from another continent. Mononychus is a good example of that. Little one-clawed theropod dinosaur, where we've got very similar fossils from Montana and from Mongolia, and we don't actually know if they're the same thing. There was a land bridge that connected the two continents right around that time, so they very well may have migrated over. So it could be that it's the same exact animal, or it could be that they started off in Asia, and they came to North America, and then they changed a little bit. And then the question becomes, are they the same animal, or do you call them something different? And it all kind of turns into a gray area after a while. But excellent question. I really appreciate that, Moldy Skink. Let's spin our wheel another time. Get rid of some of these tabs. What are the dating methods that are most useful for distinguishing these things? That's a good question, Molly Skink. You can't use like carbon dating, because that's only good for a few thousand years back, like 14,000 years I think is the half-life for carbon-14, something like that. So you usually use like potassium-argon dating, or I think potassium-lead, argon-argon, lots of dating methods like that. And you can't actually date the fossils themselves. You have to date sediment that's near them in the stratigraphic horizon. So usually use volcanic ash, because that has like radioactive elements in it that you don't have in the actual fossils themselves. So these are all complicating factors, and there's a lot of very, very bright, passionate people who are working very, very hard to figure these things out. They're getting closer and closer to the actual numbers with every passing year, which is why we have to keep updating those chronostratigraphic charts like the one I have hanging up above my desk right there. But yeah, it's a really interesting field, and I'd like to be able to have a geochronologist here on stream one of these days, like in a Zoom call. So stay tuned for that, because geochronology, the study of like how old rocks are, being able to place them and create timescales with them, that's not what I study, so I don't feel like I can really speak intelligently on that. But again, excellent question. You're on fire today, Moldy Skink. All right, let's get ourselves another dinosaur. All right, Wheel of Dinosaurs, what do you give us? You already got this one. What are the odds? Oy. So Capitalsaurus is a dubious theropod from it's either from Maryland or from Washington D.C. I think it's from actually within District of Columbia proper. Jay Leanne, hey, holy cow! Thank you so much for subscribing. I really appreciate that. Just want to take a minute and show you my gratitude for this. I'm not teaching right now, so I'm not really getting paid. I'm trying to grow this channel, and it'd be really cool if I could actually do this full time eventually. We'll see. But I really appreciate your support. It means a lot to me. Seven Francis, fingers crossed, Spinosaurus. No, unfortunately, we didn't get Spinosaurus. Yeah, Jay Leanne, I really appreciate that. The Prime subscription, yeah. Anybody who has Amazon Prime, who has not yet subscribed to anybody on Twitch, you can subscribe for free. I've got a little link in the About section underneath this stream, so check that out. I try to make it as easy as possible. Yeah. Spared no expense, hires one IT guy. I know, right? Yeah. I think John Hammond has an interesting view of what it really means to truly spare no expense. No problem. I love studying with your stream in the background. Please keep it up if you can. I absolutely will, and you're helping me. You're helping me to continue. So I really appreciate your generosity. It means a lot. Thank you. Yeah. So unfortunately, we didn't get Spinosaurus. We got Capitalsaurus for this, and yeah, we will be talking about Spinosaurs a lot in the coming months. So, Seven Francis, you will get your Spinosaur fix for sure if you stick around. I promise. So let's remove that real quick, and let's give this another spin. I did see, what do we have on here? Augustinilophus is right there. If we get super lucky, we might get Augustinilophus, which is my state dinosaur here in California. Alright, let's spin. Cross your fingers. Oh, so close. So close. Pneumatoraptor. Oh, Pneumatoraptor. I would presume that's some kind of dromaeosaur, or at least some kind of theropod, some sort of small-ish meat-eating dinosaur. And judging by its name, it's probably got hollow bones with like very obvious air sacs and hollows in them. But let's check it out. Pneumatoraptor. This is why I don't know about it, because it's kind of scrappy and it's from Hungary. It was probably described pretty recently.
By fully funding your dig.
Kitty of Freedom, holy cow! Thank you for the subscription. Wow, I don't know what to say. 2 subscriptions in a day. This is nuts. Thank you so much. Wow, I really appreciate it. I will do my best to keep up the good content, and really appreciate your support. Yeah. Thank you very much. This definitely makes this worth my while, and I hope you're having a good time here. State dinosaurs? Yeah, Molly's King. All the cool states in the United States have state dinosaurs. And I can say that now because California now officially does. Until a couple years ago, it didn't. We don't have a lot of dinosaurs here in California, unless you count birds. Which state dinosaurs... it would be kind of funny if, like, a state were to pass a bill where their state bird is also their state dinosaur. They should do that, yeah, because it would be funny. But, yeah, anyhow. Maybe we'll do a series on state dinosaurs. That might be kind of interesting. Got paid finally? Oh, glad to hear that, Kitty. That's a good feeling for sure. Glad you don't have to worry about that now. Do you know how states got state dinos? Well, millions of years ago, dinosaurs hatched out of eggs. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so basically, usually it's like a bunch of school children will get together, and like their teacher had an idea for like, let's write to our state representative and have him or her introduce a bill to, designate a state dinosaur. And that's generally how it happens. That's how it happened with Augustinilophus, as far as I know. But yeah, and some states have state fossils, and some states' state fossils are dinosaurs. So that raises the question, if you have a state fossil that's a dinosaur, is that also your state dinosaur? And I think some states have both, where they have a state fossil that is a dinosaur, and they have another state dinosaur. I think South Dakota is like that. But we should do a series on that, huh? That'd be a lot of fun. I'll write that down up here in my noggin and see if we can do that in the nearest future. Teacher wanted to show her children how legislation works, and they wrote their legislator to have the state dinos instituted. Most likely, yeah. Precisely? Oh, were you asking that as like a question that you were going to answer? Were you testing me right there, kitty? Well, I'm glad I didn't flub that. Yes. All right. Nice. You were. And now you got that beautiful little subscriber badge with that egg. We are going to be talking about that in a minute too during my presentation. But let's go through Pneumatoraptor, and then I'll dive into that slideshow that I put together for you. So Pneumatoraptor. Yeah. Are there national dinosaurs internationally? Maybe. The bald eagle might be the national dinosaur of the United States. Because it's technically a dinosaur. Anyway. A small Paravian dinosaur. Paravians are like it's from the Latin like para avian, close to birds or beside birds. That lived in Hungary and is known from a single complete left shoulder girdle found in the, I'm going to butcher this, the Sehobanya Formation of the Iharkut locality in the Barkoni Mountains of western Hungary. Formation dates to the late Cretaceous, Santonian age, about 85 million years ago. So I'm guessing we don't actually have a firm date on this this formation yet. Let's see. There we go. So we've got a scapula and a coracoid. Not a lot of material there. Not necessarily the most complete dinosaur, but that's okay. They're trying. All right, late Santonian, about 85 million years ago. So it's a little bit younger than a Velociraptor, maybe, but roughly the same time. Let's see. Oh wow, and there's a decent number of creatures from here. Lots of fish, amphibians, squamates. Those are lizards and snakes. Crocodiles, turtles, pterosaurs. Ooh, decent number of dinosaurs too. Huh. Neat. You know, this formation is actually probably better studied than I would have thought. Cool. I just learned something, chat. Hey, I found a bone I've never seen before. Bam, new dino. That's often how it works when you're in parts of the world where the dinosaurs haven't been particularly well studied. When you're working in like the Hell Creek or Judith River formations, that's most of the field work that I've done has been in those places. It's pretty rare to actually find a new kind of dinosaur, but that didn't stop me back in 2012. I found a new species of ceratopsian dinosaur that Denver Fowler should be publishing on sometime relatively soon, hopefully. Yeah, I'll talk to him about that. But anyway, let me dive into this presentation that I put together for you, chat. Here we go. Let me get this arranged properly. Whoop, shoot. You can tell this is live. What is Denver Fowler? It should be who is Denver Fowler? Is that another scientist? Yeah, Dr. Denver Fowler. He's my mentor back in Montana. He runs the Badlands Dinosaur Museum in Dickinson, North Dakota. He's quite the character and does some really cool publications, a lot of field work. He's a cool guy. The rotating skill partially hanging off the shelf makes me so nervous, lol. Oh, rotating skull? That thing's not gonna fall down. It's just spinning all the time. I really wouldn't worry about that. And also, it's not a real fossil skull. That's the 3D print that I made. So, even if it did break, like Jack Horner says, glue is cheap. Definitely wouldn't be the end of the world. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it, astronaut. It's gonna be fine. Even if it did hit the ground, I doubt it would break anyway. Maybe at the joint between the upper and lower jaw, but again, easy fix. I wouldn't worry about it too much. I appreciate your concern, though. All right. So, I'm going to tell you a story about a particular fossil that's got a very special place in my heart. And I'm going to tell you about an upcoming project that I've got. Actually, I guess project is currently underway with this fossil that I'm going to be sharing with you here on stream for probably the next couple weeks. So this specimen is a baby Triceratops. UCMP specimen 154452. So you may have noticed that this week I've got those new subscriber badges. A lot of people here in chat already have the little egg with the crack in it. But after that is this little beauty, a baby Triceratops. So the idea that I'm going for with the subscriber badges is that you start off as an egg, and then you're a baby Triceratops, and then the Triceratops will continue to grow and mature as you subscribe for longer and longer. But I wanted to make these, not just like cutesy and fun, but also scientifically accurate. And so take a close look at like the shape of the head on this. This is based on a particular specimen. This one right here. This is the kind of famous baby Triceratops skull at UCMP, the University of California Museum of Paleontology. And that is an institution that also holds a special place in my heart. That's kind of where I got my start as a paleontologist. And you can actually look up the specimen in their online database if you feel like it. It's, let's see, let me make this a little bit smaller. There we go. That's awesome. Thanks, Molly Skink. Yeah. So yeah, all this stuff is, you can look this up online if you want to. It's available to the public, and you can see all the really cool fossils that they have there in the museum. But in my opinion, this is one of the coolest ones. Of course, I'm biased as a dinosaur person, but I think it's hard to argue with. It's such a charismatic little animal. And it was discovered.
Dig up dinosaurs?
Ludocrash 104, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it. Glad you're here. Hope you're having a good time. Before I get too sidetracked, let's get back to this presentation, but I appreciate you following. Yeah. So that specimen was found by this guy, Harley Garbani, who is an amazing person. He died a number of years ago, but before his death, he was probably one of the greatest fossil hunters in North America. He was not a professional paleontologist. He was actually a plumber, but he grew up hunting for fossils, and he was almost entirely self-taught. He ended up finding some really, really remarkable specimens, and luckily for us, and by us I mean paleontologists and the public who is interested in dinosaurs too, he did not pursue the dark route and become like a commercial fossil dealer. He worked alongside museums, and he found really important specimens, for the good of, the general scientific community and the public at large. So he once found, I think at the time, what was maybe the best Tyrannosaurus specimen in the world. This is back in like the 60s or 70s. And he found a bunch of other really cool things. But in my opinion, the coolest thing they ever found was this Triceratops. And this guy right here, you see right there, that's Mark Goodwin. So he's a dinosaur paleontologist, just retired recently from the University of California Museum of Paleontology at Berkeley. I used to do some work with him every once in a while. And here he is sitting down with these different Triceratops elements. These are all the little bits and pieces, and he is very carefully piecing that together in order to be able to create a cast. Cast is like an exact replica created through molding and casting, so that he could put this on display for everybody to see. A man of morals. Exactly, Moldy Skink. Yeah. Harley Garbani was a good guy. Yeah, definitely deserves our respect. Hardest puzzle ever. Yeah, it's luckily there weren't too many tiny pieces with this, I don't think. I bet your Mark has probably worked on stuff that was more difficult than this in the past, but definitely more difficult than a puzzle you'd get out of the box. Holy cow. It's funny to see Mark like with a mustache. This is a pretty old photo. But yeah. Anyway, this picture is taken around 2008, and there is a cast of this baby Triceratops skull. This is in the library in the Valley Life Sciences building, where the Museum of Paleontology is. This is just upstairs from the museum. So if you walk down these stairs here, museum's right underneath. And here's this massive Triceratops skull that's also from Montana, same place that this guy's from. So it's just a really cool juxtaposition. And when I first started working at UCMP, I would come up here and look at this display all the time. Yeah, I've got a lot of good memories about this. And so I was pretty thrilled when something happened. Sounds like a magician's name a little bit, though. Harley Garbani. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, the great and powerful Garbani. Way smaller than it looked originally. Yeah, this is not a big skull. It's roughly about that big, which I realize when I'm on this little screen here, that looks big. So it's about 15 inches long, like this. I'll be able to show you in much greater detail in a little bit, but hold on for that. How old do we think the baby was? Oh, great question. It wasn't, when we say baby, that's definitely a misnomer. It's not like it just hatched or anything, because the creature would have hatched from an egg smaller than a soccer ball. There were no dinosaur eggs larger than like a soccer ball. There's kind of an upper limit for how big you can make an egg before it collapses in on itself just from being too heavy, at least on land. So yeah, there's no creature that's ever laid an egg on land bigger than a soccer ball. Even the biggest dinosaurs, like 120, 130 feet long, they laid eggs only about that big. And most dinosaur eggs are like smaller than a grapefruit. So that's actually smaller than just the head of this creature. So it was probably maybe about a year or two old. Anywho, excellent question. But it's not an adolescent, correct? No, it's not. We'll be getting into that in a second, Kitty. But really good point. Yeah, so I don't know. This display had before I started working at the museum, I used to come visit all the time, and I would always sit down and look at this. Sometimes I would sketch it. And then when I started working there, something pretty exciting happened. We got another skull sent to us by Museum of the Rockies. And this is kind of an in-between life stage. This one is an adolescent, Kitty. And oh, what a dingus. Here's me in high school, very excited about this new specimen. And I got to help uncrate it and everything, and make sure that it wasn't damaged in transit. And then we ended up installing it up there in the library. So there's Mark Goodwin again. A bit more gray than he was before. So this is in the year 2009. And there he is, kind of starting to take it off of its pallet. So we're going to get it set up. Do we have any sort of determination as to the lifespans of dinos? We do, Kitty. Yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute. Wow, he looks a lot like you. Are you sure? Huh. Anyhow. And, yeah, there's me, helping hold this thing steady while they discuss, where we actually want to set it up and bolt it to the floor. And that's where it ended up. So we ended up moving the baby over here, and then here's the adolescent. So this is just a beautiful illustration of how much Triceratops changed through what we call ontogeny. We'll talk about that in a minute. That awkward phase. Oh, Moldy Skunk, are you saying that the trike looks a lot like me? If you were, that's really funny. I appreciate that joke. Yes, this is what it looks like today. If you were to go visit the biology library at UC Berkeley, you would walk right past us as you're going in. It's right at the front entrance. You see, there's the Tyrannosaurus skeleton right there, down in the main rotunda. It is open to the public, yeah. That's the point with this. Yeah, most of the Museum of Paleontology downstairs in that building is not open to the public. It's a research collection, so you need special clearance to go in there. And there's not a whole lot to see anyway. It's just, all these hundreds of compactors like big metal cabinets with drawers upon drawers of fossil specimens. But there are a few fossils on display out in the main area. There's classrooms and stuff around, but you can just waltz right in when the building is open. Unfortunately, during COVID-19, it's not. But I figure most of you probably aren't in the Bay Area anyway. But if you ever are, and if we survive this whole coronavirus thing, definitely pay the museum a visit if you happen to be in the Berkeley area near San Francisco, because it's definitely worth a stroll around. There's some really cool fossils out on display in kind of the public access areas. So yeah, anyhow, that's how it looks today. And here's the publication that Mark Goodwin did on this particular baby Triceratops skull. And there's some really interesting implications that he found. So he says UCMP 154452 shows that the cranial ornamentation on the frill, so like all the little lumps and nubbins and stuff like that on the frill, and the postorbital horns, the little horns above the eyes, were not restricted to adults, but began at an early age in this species. This evidence supports the hypothesis that the function of ceratopsid horns and frills was potentially important for visual communication and species recognition, because in this young form it could not have functioned in sexual display. So this creature was definitely not sexually mature, and already it has really distinctive ornamentation on its frill that's very different from the adults. So it wants to look showy and interesting, despite the fact that, it can't reproduce at this point. So it's clearly not a sexual display thing, which kind of got him thinking. And there's a nice little illustration. Here's the material that we actually have from this creature. So the snout, the nose horn, the predentary, the end of the beak right here on the lower jaw, all this stuff had to be reconstructed. That was all sculpted, but this is the actual fossil material right there. This is the genuine stuff. So this gets into the topic of ontogeny, which is something that I've done a lot of thinking about and discussing because of my work at Museum of the Rockies in Montana. So after I finished, when I finished high school, I ended up moving to Montana. In high school, I volunteered at the museum in Berkeley, and then right after high school, moved to Montana, immediately started working at Museum of the Rockies under Jack Horner and Denver Fowler. And this is a little button that I put together for this scientific conference in 2013, the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology Conference. We were holding basically like a special event where there are all these different talks at the conference about the idea of ontogeny in dinosaurs. And I keep saying that word ontogeny, and you're probably asking, what does that mean? Oh yeah, and Kitty of Freedom, you're already asking that right now. You're way ahead of me. Ontogeny is basically... ontogeny are the processes that occur in like how an animal changes from the time that it's born until the time that it's mature and then it dies. So a classic example of that would be like a frog. Frogs have extreme changes in ontogeny. So they start off as a tadpole, and then they grow legs, they lose their tail, they become an adult frog. Those are massive ontogenetic changes. It turns out Triceratops also changed a tremendous amount through ontogeny. Not quite as dramatic as that, but still dramatic enough that all these different ceratopsian dinosaurs, different horned dinosaurs from the same time, we used to think, when I say we, I mean dinosaur paleontologists in general, used to think that they were different species. It turns out, no, it's the same animal, just at different stages of life. They look so different that it had originally been named as different species or even different genera. So the changes in the skeleton and such through maturation. Exactly, Kitty. Yeah, you got it. It was a much more succinct way of putting it than I did. I appreciate that. Yeah, I also did one of these for Tyrannosaurs and one for Pachycephalosaurus. So we had these little buttons that we were giving out for free to kind of advertise the symposium that we were doing on dinosaur ontogeny. So aging, yeah, basically, but like changes that occur through aging, that are like sometimes super dramatic, and they're like they happen for a reason. It's not just like decay, like you're aging. It's like no, your horns and frill are doing crazy things to show that you're a different age. It's adorable. I want a button. Hey, maybe I'll put those up for sale on the merch store or something like that in the future. We'll see. I also have a button press. Maybe Maybe I can do those as like a giveaway thing. I don't know. We'll see. Here is a beautiful example of Triceratops ontogeny. The expansion of female hips during puberty is an example in humans. That's right, Kitty. Yeah. Yeah. Merch patches. That would be cool, yeah. I like that idea. Although buttons would be a lot easier because I'd have a button press and I could just whip those out like that. I don't know how to make patches. I'd need like an embroidery machine or something. Anyway, this lovely photo. This is put together by Museum of the Rockies, where I used to work. This is a traveling exhibit that they had in Singapore, I think. So you've got like a fully mature adult Triceratops over here. It looks so different from the other ones that we actually used to call it a different dinosaur entirely. We used to call it Torosaurus. And then you kind of move down in age to the youngest one, right over here. That's our little baby trike. So it's really interesting, all of these different changes that occur. The frill starts out pretty short, and you've got these little bumps on the end. And as the animal matures, those bumps actually become... these are what we call epis, epiparietals and episquamosals, these little triangles of bone, like little Doritos sticking off the edge of the frill. And they start off really pointy, and they got a lot of space between them. And then they get less pointy, and they start to flatten out as the animal ages. And they start to actually fuse on, the bone fuses onto the margin of the frill. Until you get over here, they get flatter and flatter, and then basically they just become like little rounded bumps. Yeah, and then the horns similarly change a lot. They start off as these little nubbins, and then they get longer. They start to curve backwards like this, and then still curving backwards, and then they start to slope forward a little bit, like that. And then by the time the animal's fully mature, the horns are fully pointing forward. And the nose horn, too, starts off with this little nubbin, just like that, and then it fuses on just like the epis do. And, yeah. This is a little bit confusing because we've got Triceratops from the bottom and from the top of the Hell Creek Formation here. So we've also got like evolution going on and changing them too. So we really should have at least 2 or 3 series like this with Triceratops from the top and from the bottom and from the middle. Because also as they evolve, they're kind of changing and complicating things too. How did they find that it was the same dino? Excellent question, Kitty. Yeah. The adult one. So it's still actually kind of controversial in dinosaur paleontology. Let's see. Yeah, like I think if you look up the Wikipedia article for Torosaurus, it'll say that it's probably separate from Triceratops. So we haven't fully convinced everybody of this yet, but we're starting to for sure. Yeah, basically nobody had ever found a young Torosaurus, and nobody had ever found a super mature Triceratops. So that kind of got Jack Horner and a few other people thinking like, hey, maybe these are actually the same animal after all. Because all the Torosaurus that have ever been found are super mature. Yeah. And again, it's like a testable hypothesis in the sense that if you ever find a true juvenile Torosaurus, you could just instantly falsify that hypothesis and be like, nope, it's actually a separate animal because we found a baby Torosaurus. But nobody's been able to so far. There are a few that look kind of young, but those are from super, super low down in the Hell Creek Formation. So there's another thing going on called heterochrony. So like the way that the animals are maturing actually changes as they're evolving. So later on in time, it seems like the Torosaurus morph, like the super mature morphology, kind of goes away. Triceratops seems to be undergoing what we call pedomorphosis. That's when like adult animals look more like juveniles. A good example of that would be like in domestic dogs, where like dogs were bred from wolves. They evolved from wolves. But as people selectively bred dogs, they were selecting for juvenile characteristics. And that's why adult dogs often look like wolf puppies. Because, well, they're cuter and, friendlier. Those are traits that were being selected for by people in artificial selection. Anyway, getting kind of sidetracked here. But it is that complication. That's the reason why we haven't convinced everybody yet. It's because nobody's really published on the whole heterochrony thing. But it'll happen one of these days, and I think, it just hasn't really been formally argued in a peer-reviewed paper yet. Once it is, I think it's probably going to be the final nail in the coffin for Torosaurus being a separate dinosaur. But anyway, long answer to a short question, Kitty, but I hope that makes sense. Mayor Space's chimps have a bigger brain case as adolescents. When they grow up, they need stronger jaw muscles. So those muscles make up a greater portion of their head, leaving less room for brain. That makes a lot of sense. And we actually are a perfect example of like pedomorphosis in chimps. We evolved from the same ancestor. Like we share a common ancestor with chimps down here, and we kind of split off and went our separate ways. But the human lineage displays pedomorphosis. That's why baby chimps look so much like people. Because we are kind of like weird, evolved baby chimps in a way. But yeah, good point. This is random, sorry, but what song is this in the background? I think we had Secret Agent Man a second ago. Probably when you typed that. This one right now is called... It's called Atom Tan by the Silver Hawks. Yeah, anyhow. I really like the music that I've got on here. I think kind of like surf guitar covers of popular songs. I think it's a good vibe. Secret Agent Man, thank you. Okay, you already got this. Does make sense. You're gonna get some T-designs of your individual dino drawings. Dino drawings like the ones on the whiteboard that I was doing, or I don't know. I do print T-shirts, so that's how I used to make my living back when I lived in Montana for a while. So you'll probably see some of those soon once I get back to printing them. You ever see the Dinosaurs Never Existed video from that Flat Earth preacher? I did not. Maybe we might have to watch that at some point, Moldy Skank, and then I can tear out all my hair. Yeah, the whiteboard ones, because I want all of those. Oh, you're sweet, kitty. I can do drawings that are so much better than that, but yeah, I don't know. I don't want to watch something like that. Yeah, okay. All right, Mayor Space. I think for our collective sanity, we'll probably forgo that. Anyway, let's get back to this presentation. There we go. So yeah, beautiful example of Triceratops ontogeny. Yeah, here's some of those skulls lined up. Here's our beautiful baby trike skull. I think this one is... I forget what this one's called. It's at Museum of the Rockies. This almost looks like Juvie Trike 3. Although I think it's probably a different one, actually. This is SG5, I'm pretty sure. And here's Mort. Big old mature Triceratops. So, Triceratops ontogeny. Scale bar is 1 meter right there. So Mort, his skull is almost 7 feet long. It's a pretty big animal. And it's not even the biggest one. We've got Triceratops skulls bigger than that. Or even 2D prints of your models. 2D prints? You mean like on paper? Don't have enough dinos on my attire because they don't make dino tees for adults. Hey, I should change that, huh, kitty? Yeah. Anywho. Yeah, here's a paper on major cranial changes through Triceratops ontogeny. This is one of the first of a series of papers that Jack and Mark did on this. Send flat earthers to find the edge of the world. They'll come around. I appreciate that joke. It was that's a solid one, Adam. Yeah. Ba-dum-tsh. Anywho. Yeah. Oh, and there's that figure right there. Oh, and we can see those epis right there. I was talking about how along the margin of the frill, they actually fuse on. And that's exactly what's going on here in this beautiful figure. Right there, they look like little Doritos sticking off the edge. And they slowly flatten and start to fuse onto the edge of the frill. And then they just become kind of little bumps right there. Yeah. And again, these used to be the differences where it's like, oh, these have to be different animals because they look so different. Like, they have to be different species. So at one point, there were like 17 different species of Triceratops that have been named. And now we realize there's maybe 2 or 3, if you want to count it that way, but it seems like one just evolves into the other over time. 1 into 2 into 3. And so it's probably the same lineage. You don't really have a splitting event that would necessitate calling things different species. You can call them chronospecies if you want. Chrono like time, just different species in time. But it seems like they're the same thing. Yeah, space with the Dorito emote. It's very nice. Yeah, we're almost done with this. Ooh, and let's take a look at this quick little video from UCMP. Where they talk about this.
We are the University of California Museum of Paleontology, the UCMP.
I like that emote,
After watching
astronaut.
this
That's cool.
video, you must love dinosaurs as much as we do.
Do you think the
The
frills wore
mission
down like
of the
teeth over time?
UCMP is to investigate and promote the understanding of the history of life and the Earth's biota through research and education.
All right, didn't want to interrupt Lisa there. Do you think so Seven Francis asks, do they think the frills wore down like teeth over time? No, it's not like the frills were being ground against anything. It's almost like these seem to be display structures. So it's not like it's the business end of the animal that's like wearing down. It's just for whatever reason, it was super important for these animals to be able to show who was what age. And that's why these things seem to change so much as they mature. Yeah, and there are other things like, well, it is almost kind of like osteoporosis, I guess, in the sense, because like with the big Torosaurus has these big holes in its frill that seem to be like as the frill lengthens, the bone gets thinner and thinner, so it won't be as heavy, so the animal can support its head. And that's almost like osteoporosis, where the bone just kind of gets eaten away by osteoblasts. But with the epis on the margin of the frill, it's not like they're getting worn down. They just slowly kind of change. Almost like there are certain birds that kind of do things like that with their beaks, like hornbills. But anyway, yeah, good question. Let's let Lisa keep talking about UCMP here.
UCMP holds nearly 5 million fossils, the largest collection of fossils associated with a public university.
How's the sound, by the
These
way? Is it
include
good?
Fossil plants, invertebrates, microfossils, fossil vertebrates, and of course, dinosaurs.
This is our big T-Rex maxilla.
We are really excited to add to our exhibits.
Thank you.
Please help
A4
us make
osmosis.
the first
Hey,
ever
good to see ya.
see-through dinosaur skull.
So these are the original bones, the original fossils of our baby Triceratops skull.
That's our baby trike.
Make out the bony shield or frill that covers the neck and the tiny little horns.
Look at that.
of
It's so
the
cute.
smallest and presumably youngest Triceratops skull that's ever been found. So I'm holding in my hands the rostral.
I'll
or
get to that in a
beak
minute,
of
Mayor Space.
Triceratops.
Yeah.
If you have one of these bones, then you're a ceratopsid or horned dinosaur. This is the diagnostic character that defines the group. In life, it was covered with a hard material like your fingernails. And in this hand is a 3D printed cast showing the robust vessel network that nourished the bone as these animals grew up.
Yeah, so if you can see all those little pits that are there in the beak, so this is the beak at the front of the animal that you're looking at. Here's the front of it, here's the back, the nose would be right here, the nose horn would be up here. Yeah, and all those are little pits for blood vessels, just like Mark was talking about, that would nourish the keratin sheath on this. So if you were to look at like a skull of, say, a parrot, if it doesn't have the keratin sheath on it, the surface of its the part of its skull that supports the beak looks a lot like this, with all those little pits. And so this lovely clear model right here, you can actually see those little tubes where the blood vessels would go through, which is really neat.
And as the bone also changed shape and size as the animals got older. And what we want to do is CT scan all the individual bones of the baby Triceratops skull and produce this see-through, clear 3D print of the fossil. Now, we don't know what we're going to find, but with your help and your support, we'll be able to CT scan all the individual bones of our baby Triceratops skull, then using medical imaging software, do what we call volume renderings, and that allows us to make the 3D printed models
That's so cool.
of the inside of the fossil, showing the morphology of both the outside and the inside, like you see here. This is the
All right, let me pause this for a second and catch up with chat. So Mayor Space wonders if maybe Sinoceratops and Styracosaurus and the Pseudoceratops, etc., could have been different ages of fewer species than we think. Now you're on the right track, Mayor Space. Yeah. Those particular ones are from different ages and different places, so they probably don't form, a group like this. But there are probably a lot of different dinosaurs that we used to think were different taxa, different genera and species, that are probably just different growth stages of the same animal. So those particular ones, no, but there will be some dinosaurs in the near future that will be, as we call, sunk. The names will get sunk. One will get sunk into another. So like Torosaurus gets sunk into Triceratops because Triceratops was named first. Yeah. And Armchair Astronaut lamenting how pre-COVID videos make you sad. It's like watching a classic 90s blockbuster movie. Kitty asks, how do they know it's for vessels and not just damage due to fossilization? Excellent question, Kitty, because it forms a very organic shape. And it's just like we see in modern animals like parrots, too. It's not what we call diagenetic. Diagenetic processes are the ones that occur after an animal, after its bones get buried. It's like all the deforming processes that happen to it. That's diagenesis. So yeah, it doesn't look like diagenesis at all, but good question. Yeah. Yeah, Lordy. I was just thinking that the other day when we were watching 30 Rock. Yeah. Where's their mask? May I ask what causes this drastic change in morphology? Ooh. And Ludocreesh, are you new here or were you here last time? I'm trying to remember. Anyway, thanks for jumping into chat. Hope you're having a good time. It would seem as though humans haven't changed that much in comparison throughout the time, at least no drastic changes since we adopted the erect walk, because there hasn't been a lot of time. That's the thing. We're only like 1 million years old as a species. Triceratops, depending on, it's about 2 million years represented in the Hell Creek Formation, and you can go back even further into like the Ojo Alamo Formation in the southwest U.S. So there's a lot more time there, so a lot more opportunity for change. Yeah, good question, though. Never occurred to me that 3D printing could be used for fossils on a large scale. This is so exciting. Isn't that neat? Yeah. Oh, I'm going to show you something pretty cool in a few minutes, Francis. Yeah. I'm new, thanks. Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. It's, whoops. Just giving you some applause here. Oh, Uncle Bill, thanks for hosting. I really appreciate it. Hope you're having a good time. It's good to see you. And Ludo Creech, thank you so much for being here. It's your first time watching. I'm glad you're having a good time. Talk about something pretty cool in a minute here. So how long for us to grow our horns? Mayor Space, you mean as a subscriber? Well, after you subscribed for a month, you're going to get the second subscriber badge, which is our baby Triceratops. And then after that, I still have to design it, but probably going to jump into like the third stage one, like we saw, where the horns are a little more prominent. So I think at month 3, you'll start earning your horns, so to speak. Ever watched Pimple Popper? Some of us already have horns. Holy cow! I've not watched that. I've heard about it. I don't know if that would be up my alley. Our astronaut asks, we will look like the Asgard from Stargate in a few million years of cloning. Could be. Whatever you set your mind to. I mean, no, as a species, it was a joke. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's selective pressure on humans to grow horns. I think that might be like a cosmetic thing that, like, I don't know. Whatever floats your boat, man. I mean, if you want horns, go for it. Whatever makes you happy. Uncle Bill, yeah. All right.
See-through beak. With your support, we're going to make the first see-through Triceratops skull ever. And we're going to put it on display with the current growth series of Triceratops in the Marion Koshland Biosciences Library in the Valley Life Sciences building just above the Museum of Paleontology on the UC Berkeley campus.
Just like we were talking about.
Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you from UCMP.
So, This is a crowdfunding thing that UCMP was going through with. Here it is right here. And unfortunately, they didn't get anywhere close to their goal. This ended at the end of February this year. So, phooey. It's kind of unfortunate. Kitty asks, have they completed the clear skull? No. I don't know if it's going to happen at this point. I'm guessing probably not. But I've got something else to talk about. This is the same skull right here, but this is actually a commercial model that is available of it. Like I said, this is a really famous specimen. This is the only baby Triceratops skull in the world. Super, super unique. And you can actually buy this online from like some people who produce fossil casts. Unfortunately, it's a little bit pricey. I thought it would be really cool to have one of these so that I could show it on stream. And it has a special place in my heart. It's one of our subscriber badges here. So I came up with a little plan. I'm going to be showing you that in a minute. How often do these kind of programs do crowdfunding for these kinds of projects or research? Not very often, Kitty. Usually it's like people apply for grants, especially if you're a paleontologist. But it's like 95% of grants are never funded. Or projects like never get grant funding. So, yeah, I actually much prefer the idea of crowdfunding. But for whatever reason, this one didn't seem to have worked, which is pretty unfortunate. But again, with crowdfunding, you need to drum up enthusiasm. And, yeah, I guess with this one, it just didn't happen. But anyway, whoop. So I decided to make my own baby Triceratops skull. I was thinking about this for a while. Like, if I get enough photos of this, I could just sculpt the thing with some sculpting software. But then I had a better idea. There's this really nifty program that I discovered fairly recently. This is back in like November. It's called Meshroom. And it has to do with what we call photogrammetry. Let me know if you know what photogrammetry is in chat. Donation goal, I know, right? Yeah. Maybe you guys thought that I was like going to ask you to donate money to this or something like that. I was making a pitch to you. That's not what this is at all. Yeah, photogrammetry. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Let me read what Mayor Space has to say first. Not every project can get crowdfunded. People only have so much to donate to stuff, so they're all basically competing with each other. Yeah, basically. Yeah, but you need like a really long reach with social media too in order to do crowdfunding nowadays. And you need to get people really excited about it. And they clearly tried with the video there, but I don't know, it didn't get widely shared because I didn't even know about this until this morning, frankly. So, or else I probably would have donated some money. I would have kicked a few bucks there, right? But yeah, so they just didn't have long enough reach with social media, and that's often a problem for scientists nowadays. They spend so much time writing grant proposals and stuff that there isn't a whole lot of time to talk to public, which is an issue. Anyway, that's a whole soapbox of mine, so I'm sure I'll talk about that another time. But anyhow, let me show you. It's right here. See if I can find this real quick. Let's see. Meshroom. And I can show you how this whole process works if you like. If I can get this thing to work properly. And using that, and a little bit of ingenuity, I was actually able to make a model out of it. And let me find that for you real quick. Let's see. Should have written Oprah a letter. Oh, and shoot, I'm sorry, you guys. I didn't have the audio set up in that new window. I don't think. So you probably didn't hear any of that. That was just like incomprehensible. Just looking at some weird software. What I was saying is that I was able to take all of these different photos of the skull from different angles and then run it through this software, and it basically it's able to, like, using different points that it picks out in those pictures, estimate where the camera was from each shot, and then using that information, it can actually generate a 3D model. And it'll texture it and everything, and it works way better than you'd expect for a freeware program. And so I was able to generate a 3D model of this skull, and I'll show you what I was able to do with that. Let's see here. Let me find it. Baby trike skull. Here we go. Should pop up in just a minute here. There we go. Look at that. Gorgeous. I'm so excited about this. Yeah. Can you hear me right now, by the way? Let's see. The audio should be working on this. We can hear you now. Excellent. Good. I appreciate that. I apologize about that earlier. I hadn't planned out that part. Yeah, here's our baby Triceratops skull. So I got this all properly sliced and everything, and I just got some new 3D printer filament in the mail today. So I am going to be printing this at full size, and then we will have our very own UCMP Harley Garbani baby Triceratops skull. Also in honor of our new sub badge too for 2 months. So I am pretty excited about that, especially since, if I were to buy something like this, it would cost at least $1,000. Now I can actually make my own and feel that wonderful sense of ownership that comes with producing something yourself, and learning so much more about it. Given that when you have to make something like that, you learn all the little details and everything. You paint it yourself. You become so much more familiar with it than you would have if you just opened up a box when it showed up in the mail. So this will be, I think, something that we are going to see a lot of in streams in the next few weeks. I got to figure out when I want to start printing it. I might do it this weekend. It'll take about a week to print. Probably close to probably 80 or 90 hours total. But man, is it going to be worth it. I am pretty excited. Anyway, let me catch up to chat right here. Yeah, Jay Leanne, it is Mushroom, absolutely. Yeah, no audio, sound is back. Now it's back. Didn't hear anything. Blah blah blah. Let's see. Sound is good. Cool. Anyway, chat, what do you think about that? Are you excited to see a baby Triceratops come to life here on stream? Looks very detailed. Thanks. Yeah. I'm really impressed with this program, and that's without any modification from me. I didn't gussy up any of the detail or anything like that. That is just this program, just outputting that raw. So yeah, this will be kind of a trial run, but I'm going to talk to some of my friends who run different museums across the country and ask hey, could you use a maybe Triceratops skull in your public displays? And I'll probably talk to Mark and a few other people at UCMP first, just to make sure everything's kosher. But yeah, I think it could be pretty neat. So I'm very excited about that. Yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah. What color filament are you using? Ooh, good question, France. Let me grab it real quick so I can show you. Let's see. The skull is much thinner when I look at it from the front than I expected. Yeah, very narrow from side to side. Glow in the dark. I was this close to buying glow-in-the-dark filament a couple days ago, but I'm gonna stick with this really beautiful copper color that I have. Let me show you. A4 osmosis, make it purple like Barney. Well, whatever color I make it, I could make it purple like Barney, but then I'd be painting it like the real thing. Anyway, but I'll show you the filament that I have because it's pretty neat even before it's painted. Hang on just a sec. Here it is. This is a spool that has very little left on it. This lovely copper color. It's really nice, even unpainted. And I'll show you a few things that I printed with it. One thing that I just finished up earlier this week that I think is pretty impressive is right over here. This bad boy. Oof. An ankylosaur skull. This is going to be a lot bigger than our trike skull. It's so big I can barely fit it in frame. This is the skull of an armored dinosaur. Here's the eye right here. There's the nose, nostrils. There's the beak at the front. And there's these lovely armor spikes there at the back of the head. And some of you here in chat saw this earlier this week, but for anybody who didn't, meet Euplacephalus. Classic armored dinosaur skull, and this is life-size. Barney was a theropod, though. Baby Pop was a green ceratopsian. Is that right, Mayor Space? Wow. I'm impressed. You know a lot about Barney and friends. That's cool. Well, that's insane. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. It's that's pretty neat. And I got the lower jaw printed too. That's right here. 2 parts to the lower jaw. These are the denary bones. Like this. So left denary and right denary. They fit in like this and like that. This is so like cumbersome on my desk that it's probably don't know what's going on. There we go. Yeah. There we go, like that. And then there's also the pre-denary that fits in between them and kind of joins them up. That's right here. And I don't know if I want to glue this live on stream. I want to make sure I really get it right. Because this skull we actually assembled, was that Monday or Tuesday this week? Here live on the stream, glued it together. But the lower jaw fits together like that. But it's going to be tricky, because there's kind of a lot of moving parts on this. Not literally, but you know what I mean. And I want to make sure that I really get it right so that it fits onto the rest of the skull perfectly. So it's not something I want to have to reprint, just because I screwed up the glue part. But I'm pretty excited about this. And I've got, goodness, the baby Tyrannosaurus. I've got my Erlikosaurus, Eoraptor, Camarasaurus, Herrerasaurus, Diplodocus. I've got at least 6 other skulls in the works too. So, you know, that space behind me there will be our own little museum display. It's gonna be very nice. It's just like a proper dinosaur museum. So it's gonna be neat. Yeah. Oh, Drop Bear's here. Good to see you, Drop Bear. Can you do a vid on your 3D printer setup, Danny? I could. It's not very impressive. I only have one 3D printer, and it's a pretty basic one. That'd be interesting too. And the software you use and how you do your thing with the printing stuff. I could, but I don't know. I feel like kind of almost like a dilettante when it comes to 3D printing. I don't know. There are people who are really into it, and they love it for just like the joy of 3D printing. With me, there's always like, you know, making fossil replicas. That's my end goal. Doing like digital fossil casts, basically. So I don't know. I'm probably not doing everything right. Definitely not an expert in 3D printing, not yet. But I appreciate your enthusiasm. Maybe we'll do a special stream on that one of these days. Yeah. Hey, Aquarius Dude 2001. Hi. Hi to you too. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're having a good time. Talking about dinosaurs, doing some paleontologizing. showing off some of my my larger dinosaur 3D prints. And yeah, anyway, how you doing, Aquarius? Mirror Space asks, maybe you could do a stream that's just the printer working away. Well, I joked about that with Ios and Lordy. Like, I might set up a little GoPro on the printer so I can just kind of switch over to that. But it's not a fun. It's like watching paint dry. It's not very engaging. 3D printers work pretty slowly, and mine is no exception. So, yeah. But I appreciate your enthusiasm. I mean, we'll do something like that. I got to figure out a way to make it more interesting. You made Wolverine claws? That sounds neat. From like the mustelid, like North American Wolverine. Oh, it's probably a superhero thing, huh? Sorry, my background's in the biological sciences. It's not. I don't immediately think fictional characters. That sounds really neat. That'd be a lot bigger, right? The big ones like that. Yeah. What is my favorite dinosaur? Oh, good question, Aquarius. You know what? I actually have a command for that. If you type in !FAV dino, then I can have Moobot answer that question for me. So try that, yeah. Not a bad idea. People would watch a 3D printer stream of a dino skull being printed. No joke, no troll. Really? People would watch that? I don't even watch that. It's going on like live in my apartment. Let's see. Where'd this go? 24-hour sub goal live stream to the finale. That would be cool, yeah. This is one of each. Cool. Danny, I watched that YouTube vid of you and your friend watching the real Jurassic Park movie. Fiance and I were too distracted by how much you two were flirting with each other. You watched the whole thing, Drop Bear? Wow. Yeah. It's, oh, Marielle. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, the bot's working. 3D printer streams do work. Call it visual ASMR. I like that, Uncle Bill. That's funny. People will watch anything if it's ironically funny, like sleeping live stream. I should do a paint drying live stream, huh? I can paint these and you can watch them dry. Indeed, it is satisfying. How long have I been a paleontologist, Kitty asks? Oh, that's a good question. That's tough. Like, who do you call a paleontologist and who do you not? It's kind of arbitrary. I would say I became a paleontologist. The simplest way to do it would probably be to say when my job title was paleontologist, and that would have been starting around 2013, 2014, something like that. Or maybe when I did my first, when I published some of my first research, a little bit earlier than that. So a while, yeah. Coming up on like, 7, 8, 9 years, something like that. But I've been, studying fossils for a lot longer, since high school. Yeah. Oh, like actively in the field? I did my first field work in 2011. So coming up on 10 years pretty soon. Yeah. Do you believe genetic cloning of dinosaurs is possible? Not anytime soon, Aquarius. But there is another way that we could kind of bring dinosaurs back. And it's by like modifying modern birds, which evolved from dinosaurs. There's a whole project called the Dino Chicken Project that some of my friends and colleagues were working on at Montana State. I don't actually know how it's gone in the past couple of years, but they're working on it, like back engineering a chicken into a creature, that would kind of superficially resemble a velociraptor. It's a really neat idea. Heck, I recently spent a week watching bluebird eggs. I watched some bald eagle eggs on stream a while ago. American Eagle Foundation, that was cool. It's hard to find dino DNA. If they got some fantastic sample somewhere, maybe. Even then, there's like a million steps in between having... Even if you had the complete genome, it would still be really difficult, because you would have to find an egg to host it, and then you'd have to find a way to actually get it to hatch properly, and does it have the right gut flora to survive? Like, the right bacteria in its guts to be able to digest food and everything? There are all these different steps that most people never think about. Yeah. Yes, watch the whole thing. The wine was getting to you both. we had a lot of wine that night, Drop Bear. Yeah. What are the paleontological origins of that outfit? This shirt? What do you mean? I don't know. Just bought it online. It's a collared shirt. I don't know if I've used this one in the field. This might be like a regular shirt. But yeah. I can talk about my necklace too if you're interested. There's a story there. I think I already talked about that this week though. I don't want chat to get too tired of it. Let's see. So are Triceratops super common in Montana? Because your bot said you dug up 20 or 30. It is hard to like walk around for more than an hour in certain places in Montana and not stumble over a Triceratops. They are everywhere. The trick is finding a good specimen that's actually like scientifically important and reasonably complete. And I found a few. But yeah, I've worked on many more Triceratops sites that I didn't personally find. But yeah, Triceratops are pretty darn common. Gotta call it a night. Take care, everyone. Hey, thanks for being here, Seven Francis. I hope you had a good time. Thanks for the follow and everything. And I'll see you around. Sleep well. Have a good night. And take care. There's genetic degradation and cloning as well. Oh, holy cow! Yeah, we're starting to have trouble cloning mammoths, and they found mummified bodies. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, one of the ideas with mammoths at one point was to try and find frozen sperm in a male mammoth, and just like try and revive it and put it into a female Indian elephant, or Asian elephant, I guess, is the more proper term. And yeah, that seems fairly straightforward, and they've not been anywhere close to being able to succeed with that. So yeah, it's going to be a long time before we even get mammoths, let alone dinosaurs. And mammoths coexisted with people. They're not that old. The last mammoths died out like 4,000 years ago or something like that. Not very long ago at all. So we'll have mammoths before we have dinosaurs, that's for sure. What is the most common dino to find in Oklahoma? Ooh, is that where you're from, Aquarius? I can only think of a couple dinosaurs from Oklahoma. I think we've got Tenontosaurus, and there's another super cool one called Sauroposeidon. I'm pretty sure it's from Oklahoma. It's a brachiosaur, and it's one of the tallest dinosaurs ever found. It might still hold the record for the tallest. It's like 70 feet tall. Let me look it up real quick. Cloned a sheep, and the clone began to degrade at about a third faster than its genetic. Yeah, Dolly the sheep. Yeah. Yeah, it's cloning. Makes me sad sometimes. Animals have short lives. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Of course. Do you know about Tenontosaurus and Sauroposeidon there in Oklahoma? Oklahoma, where the winds blow, sweeping down the plains. That's right, yeah. And the dinosaurs are often very tall. Maybe it's an adaptation to get their heads out of the wind. Yeah. All right. See, Aquarius knows. I'm glad you're here. You're in the right place. It's good to have you. Let me see what else I had on my agenda for today. Let's see. We did our intro. We did our fossil news.
Dig up dinosaurs?
And who was that? There should be a thing that pops up automatically. Oh, Aquarius, thanks for following. I appreciate it. Yeah. Did I just cut out for a second there? I hope not. I always found it ironically funny that they find aquatic dinosaurs here in Colorado. Oh, interesting, Kitty. Yeah. Where we're known for our mountains. Yeah, those aren't actually dinosaurs. That's the thing. We were talking about this earlier this week in stream. There were no aquatic dinosaurs. All the things that you think of as aquatic dinosaurs were actually different kinds of marine reptile. So they lived at the same time as the dinosaurs in the ocean, but dinosaurs only lived on land. So those are things like plesiosaurs, ichthyosaurs, mosasaurs. Those are reptiles that belong to groups like squamates, like lizards and snakes, turtles and stuff like that. Yeah, so technically not dinosaurs. There were no dinosaurs that lived in the ocean. But still super cool. It doesn't mean that those animals weren't super interesting and worthy of all kinds of study and awe. Yeah, let me get rid of some of these. These tabs. There we go. Bucephalus skull, we talked about that. I did my baby Triceratops slideshow. So now, I think we should jump into sculpting an ankylosaur right now, like we've been doing. I finally got my draw pad to work properly on this new computer, so I think that would be pretty neat to do. Is that mouse keyboard wood grain or just bone colored? Uncle Bill, oh man, this is actual wood. It's made from bamboo. All natural materials. Well, not all natural. There's some plastic and stuff inside, obviously. But the surface of it is bamboo, which is pretty neat, I think. It's definitely not a performance keyboard. It doesn't work that well. But it brings me joy, and I think that's more important oftentimes. Yeah. I think the reason why cloned animals die so quickly is because the DNA is not stable. Interesting. I don't know enough about DNA to know anything about that. Hey, you like that, Uncle Bill? Yeah. Back when I sold cars for a brief while when I lived in Montana, and I had this keyboard. I bought this keyboard and mouse specifically for that job. They provided us, mouses and keyboards. That yes emote, nice. They provided us with all that stuff, but I figured, no, I want to get something to kind of match the rest of my decor. And I sold probably 5 or 6 cars just based on people walking over going is that a wooden keyboard? And then we get to talking and they'd be like, hey, you're cool. I want to buy a car. It's a weird business to be in. It doesn't make sense most of the time. What was the first dinosaur fossil you found? The first dinosaur fossil I found, Aquarius. Ooh. Oddly enough, the first one that I found that's worth remembering was my ceratopsian that I found in the Judith River Formation back in 2012, which is going to be a new species as soon as Denver gets around to publishing that. Yeah, so that was one of my first days ever out prospecting on my own. I think it was my first day prospecting on my own. I think it ended up being the only day I prospected on my own that whole summer, because after that we were digging up this skeleton. So, yeah, it was that was pretty cool. Fortunately, I can't talk about it too much because it's not published yet. But that was a good day. That was a very good day. By the way, BDW, thank you, Lord D, for the gift sub. Sorry I didn't notice at the time. Yeah, thanks again, Lord D, for the gift sub. That was pretty generous. I really appreciate that. Really feeling the love. Yeah. I was thinking, we'll probably save that for tomorrow, actually, because I don't quite have it 100% ready to go. But there is a dinosaur simulator that I set up on my new computer, and I'm going to be streaming that. It's called Saurian. We were talking about that the other day. So for anybody who wasn't here for that, there's a super cool game, and scientific accuracy was the top consideration in making it. So I'm going to have so much to say about it. It's going to be really, really neat. So you can tune in tomorrow if you want to catch that. And I'll be streaming it for a while, I think. It's going to be pretty neat. So, yeah. But for now, we're going to go ahead and sculpt ourselves an ankylosaur. Let me open that up. Do I know what the name is going to be? I do, and I can't say it yet. Because Denver probably would not be very happy about that. So I'm gonna respect that. But you know that I know, and now, I know that you know that I know, and I think that's enough right now. That doesn't make any sense, but that's okay. Mrs. Q, hey! Hey, Dino Dude. Hey, you, Mrs. Q. How you doing? I hope you're having a good day. How are things? And Astronaut says, my trip to the bank turned into a 911 call to report someone's backyard on fire. Holy cow, Astronaut. Wow. Hope everybody's all right. Yeah, oof. Is anybody home there in the house that the backyard is adjacent to? And Aquarius asks, do you ever think about what animals might look like in the future after evolving after so many years? Sometimes, yeah. That's the kind of thing that's hard to predict if you don't really know what's happening in the environment during that time. Stuff hasn't happened yet, but I mostly worry about which species are going to go extinct in the next 5 years, due to human activity. Creatures that have been evolving for 3 billion years, and then humans come along and then they're just snuffed out of existence. It's pretty sad to think about. Extinction is not a happy thing. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer. Don't know. Hope everybody's all right, astronaut. Anyway, this is the program that I use for sculpting. It's called Sculptus. To get my drop pad set up. And so it's pretty cool. It's a freeware program. You start off with a sphere like this. And then, let's see. Let me find my... Let's see, my sculpts. Oh shoot, that's in the wrong spot. Hang on. It's in my Twitch folder. Here we go. There we go. I've got my background skeletal drawing, and let me open up the actual file that I've been working on. Ankylosaur. And there's my Ankylosaur so far. So we started off with that sphere, and then basically with this program, it kind of mimics what you do with clay. Just kind of mold it and sculpt it into different shapes. And, yeah. This is what I've got so far. I love how just intuitive and easy this program is. It's pretty nifty. I really appreciate it. And this is not just for fun what I'm doing right now. This is actually for an upcoming project that I have for publication. Where I'm going to be estimating how much dinosaurs weighed by using 3D models like this. And I've come up with a method that I think will actually be testable in the sense that we'll be able to quantify our level of error, which is so cool because nobody's been able to do that before in estimating dinosaur masses. It's like everything's basically just a guess. But with this, we can get a little bit closer to the truth, I think, and be able to test how accurate this method is. So, yeah, but I can't give away too much about that yet because it's I don't even haven't even submitted it for publication. I haven't even done the work yet. But this is kind of our beginning step, is making the models. Let's see. Mayor Space says, I suppose Florida doesn't have a lot of fossils since we're just a giant sandbar. You actually do. It's surprising. There's no fossils from the age of dinosaurs, so far as I know. But you've got a lot of Pleistocene fossils, like fossils from the age of mammals. Including a bunch of megalodon teeth from Otodus megalodon, a giant shark. You've got like fossil camels, saber-toothed cats, and all kinds of neat stuff. You've got a fossil heritage worth being proud of there in Florida. So I don't know. I wouldn't fret about that. No dinosaurs, but not everybody can have dinosaurs. We have hardly any dinosaurs here in California. Do I believe in dragons? What do you mean? There is some evidence that like dragon myths may have actually been inspired by ancient peoples finding fossils, sometimes dinosaur fossils. And there are a lot of dinosaur names that are like this and that dragon. Let's see, Hippodraco is a good example. Where it's named after a dragon. A lot of Chinese dinosaur names too are named after, like Guanlong, Dailong, like feathered dragon. Let's see, what else? There was that other one, Wulong, the dancing dragon. It's just published recently. I talked all about that with my students. So yeah, in a sense, I guess you could say I believe in dragons. I don't know. If you consider dinosaurs dragons, it's like, you could do that for fun if you want. And Kitty asks, how do scientists determine the lifespans of different species of dinosaurs? Oh, thank you. We were going to talk about that, huh? There's a really cool thing that you can do with dinosaur fossils. Thank you for the reminder. Called histology. So basically, by taking the limb bone, usually you want long limb bones, like a tibia is usually the best one, and that's the least amount of remodeling. You can cut that and then look at the growth rings on the inside, kind of like you would with a tree, and actually figure out how old the animal was when it died, which is super helpful, because if you have a dinosaur and you're like, wow, this looks so much different from any other dinosaur we've found in this area before, like, what's going on here? It must be a different species. You could say, well, it's pretty young. Why is this doing that? It's pretty young, so maybe it just looks different because it was young. Maybe it's not actually a new species. So it's very important to be able to tell how old something was before you name it as a new taxon, new genus or species. So yeah, but you can only do that by cutting the bones open. Any other method for estimating how old a dinosaur was when it died, none of those methods really seem to work. Yeah, some people call that destructive sampling. But the thing is, you can just glue it back together afterward. It doesn't actually destroy anything. So I prefer to call it enhanced sampling, because you get so much more data out of it by doing that. And with most of these fossils, like, if you just send other crews out there, you will find more of them. It's just a matter of time. So treating fossils like they're something that you can't ever cut open to learn more about, that's not a helpful attitude to have, in my opinion. As long as you can glue it back together, you'll be fine. Let's compare this to our skeletal drawing by Mr. Scott Hartman, one of the greatest living paleo artists. And it looks like our proportions are pretty much correct at this point, if I can get it to scale properly. Just trying to line this up. This is weirdly the most difficult thing about digital sculpting. Yeah, we're looking okay. I can shorten the tail a little bit. Bring that in just like that. Yeah, not too shabby. I'm going to make some creases on here to kind of give it the outline of some of the limbs. Not necessarily because the body really looked like that, but I'm just trying to give myself a nice framework for, so I make sure that everything's lined up properly. We've got the neural spines right around there. There's the sacrum, right along like this. Yeah. Oh, chat's getting away from me. Shoot. I think Titanoboa was South America. Oh, hang on. Let's see. Did they find Titanoboa in Florida? No, Titanoboa was Colombia, I think. And yeah, one of the guys who named that, Jason Head, I worked with him at Berkeley back when I was in high school. He's a really cool guy. And he was very frustrated when, like, Discovery Channel decided to do a special on Titanoboa, and they wanted his help with it. And they were like, yeah, we're gonna make it like it's gonna be slithering through New York City, and like it's gonna be eating people in Central Park. And they were just like over dramatizing it, and one of their angles, I guess, was gonna be like, could this creature still be alive today? And he just like refused to work with them after that. I think he just left. Which, good for him. But yeah, it's really sad to see how Discovery Channel, which was once, a prime place for educational television, is now, like, actively anti-educational. It's just pseudoscience TV. Just like History Channel with all those ghost swamp truckers and Bigfoot fishermen and stuff like that. Let's see. The only dragon I believe in is the Komodo dragon. What about the bearded dragon? Drop bear? Or the leafy sea dragon? But good point. Let's see. Yeah, but to be really hard to determine how old it is whenever it comes from the desert? I'm not sure what you mean there, Aquarius. When it comes from the desert, like if a dinosaur is from the desert, how, like, could you not use histology to figure out how old it was? They would still have rings like that in their bones. The rings tend to be more pronounced, actually, if the dinosaur lived in a very seasonal environment like a desert, like with a very pronounced dry season. Ones that lived near the equator, where things were a lot more temperate, or a lot more hospitable. Temperate's not the right word. You wouldn't have as pronounced growth rings, so it'd be more difficult to figure out age. We're gonna start putting some spikes on this guy, and I'm gonna start off by bringing these up a little bit, like that. There we go. That's looking swell. I like that. Yeah. Though fossilization of bone was rare. I'm sorry, I'm way behind in chat right now. Well, if it's a fossil, you're not cutting into bone, you're cutting into some mineral or rock. Technically, drop bear, yeah, but the mineral or rock preserves the original morphology of the bone really well, and some of the material is actually preserved in there, which is something that we've learned recently, especially in environments like the Hell Creek or Judith River formations. There is actually some original organic material left, which is kind of shocking because you'd think after 66 plus million years it'd all be gone. But there's something going on chemically with a lot of those rocks where it's preserving some of the original organic material, and we might even have fragments of DNA. People like Mary Schweitzer are currently looking for that. She's kind of a maybe the first molecular paleontologist, kind of a whole new breed of fossil scientist. All right, I'm gonna draw on some of these spikes. There we go. I'm just starting off with little nubbins, and then we will shape them how we see fit in a little bit. But I'm just adding the material right now, and then and this is actually going to be really tough without having a head-on view of this animal. So we're going to have to add some other images in order to be able to get this right. But yeah, let's see. Didn't you hear Elasmosaurus is still alive in Scotland? I always thought that was a really funny idea that the Loch Ness Monster is a plesiosaur. There's like so many reasons why that could never possibly be the case. But I appreciate your joke there, yeah. Let me take a break and catch up to chat for a minute, because I keep getting distracted. And you guys deserve an up-to-date Danny answering your questions and everything. Let's see. And it wants Tree Fitty. Reference went over my head. You're the water dragon. Huh. Yeah, back when I had cable TV before streaming services, those channels all had real education in them, not reality TV. Yeah. I know, right, Chandra? Also, good to see you, Chandra. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for popping in. And Dropper says the History Channel, or the truth is history. I like that. Yeah, I gotta get a laughing sound for my soundboard. You deserve that. Yeah. And also aliens, where the truth is aliens. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. That show. They did an episode on dinosaurs once. Maybe if we're feeling masochistic, we will watch that at some point, and then we'll pull out all of our hair. If we have any left after watching Dino Hunters or whatever. Ugh. Do you know why the genetic material is being preserved in those regions, or at least have a hypothesis? Yeah, it might be that those sediments seem to be really iron-rich, and that might be acting to help preserve them. Yeah, that's the kind of working hypothesis right now, but we're not really sure. It's a good question, and it's currently being researched. Do I like Steve Irwin? Yeah, Steve Irwin was a really cool guy. I really admired him. Really unfortunate that he met an untimely end. I think he was a positive voice in the world. It's a shame he's not still around. The Tree Fitty is a South Park reference about the Loch Ness Monster. Okay. I don't know a lot about South Park, yeah. Who doesn't like Steve Irwin? Beats me. Curmudgeons, I guess. Yeah. Not the mama. I barely get that reference, but I got that, Chandra, yeah. You know, Danny, when you got 50 plus people in your chat, it's okay to not read every message, just saying. Thanks, Drop Bear. I appreciate your understanding. Do I really have that many people in chat right now? It says 12 viewers. But point taken. Thank you. I appreciate you being so understanding. It's such a great community here. Everybody here is so great. You guys are awesome. I'm going to use the pinch tool on this. Oop, and let me move back to that so you can see what I'm doing. That would be helpful, huh? Oop. And we'll make some spikes out of this. Let's see. Someday, yeah. Someday, probably pretty soon, we'll have a bunch of people in chat. We just need a few good raids, and then we're going to have a lot of people here. Nice. That's a little wonky looking. Let me grab that and pull it down. Not like that. Yowza. I'll turn up the strength on the smooth there. There we go. That's looking better. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. I don't like Steve Irwin, sorry, but if he really did respect animals, he'd still be alive today, so he gets zero respect from me. Oh, sorry, drop her. I have heard that some people in Australia don't like Steve Irwin because he, like, helped contribute to this idea that, like, Australians are all, like, loud drungos. Yeah, I have met people from the British Commonwealth who, like, strongly dislike him, I guess, come to think of it. But yeah. But he did definitely take a lot of unnecessary risks, and he would still be here today if he had not. Come on. Like I said, this is the most difficult part of sculpting this program, because it was not designed to be able to do this well. There we go. Okay, let's get these spikes to line up properly. There we go. How big would the spikes have been on that guy that you're modeling? Pretty big. I mean, the skull is this big. This is the same animal, Eupliocephalus. So, were you here in chat earlier when we were looking at this? So, like, the cheek spikes are this big right here, and actually on the model, I think I have them a little bit too big. But yeah, the whole animal is like 20, 25, maybe close to 30 feet long. So pretty big spikes, and I've collected some of these in the field, not from this particular guy, but from Ankylosaurus, probably Denversaurus in the Hell Creek, and some of those are like this big. Pretty big osteoderms, as we call them. Let's see. Some debate about Steve Irwin. Oh, like in length? How big would the spikes be in length? I don't know. Some of them up to like a foot long. I dug up a new species of ankylosaur in northern Montana back in 2017. And some of those spikes are pretty big, like at least 10 inches in diameter. And that was not as big as this animal. Eupliocephalus was pretty large, one of the largest ankylosaurs. So its spikes would have been even larger in some cases. Let's see, and I want to grab those and pull those to the side a little bit. Just imagine whenever we're able to travel to other planets and discover what fossils may be on them. Or what living creatures, too, yeah. But fossils might be safer. At least in the sense that, not necessarily them hurting you, but like you don't want to accidentally cause species to go extinct on other planets. That's a really dark thought. Okay, what I'm going to do here is try to smooth out a lot of this stuff. We can draw on those spikes. And actually, while we're at it, let's do some on the side of the neck right there. Was I didn't realize that you were doing the same animal. Oh, right, Kitty, yeah. Sorry, I didn't make that clear. This is Eupliocephalus. That's why I'm sculpting this guy. I was originally going to do Ankylosaurus, but I was doing this on stream a few days ago, and I couldn't get the reference image to come up, so I'm like, we'll just switch to Eupliocephalus and we'll do its skull. Like, we'll do its head, and I'll just use the head sitting in front of me as a reference. And now we're doing Eupliocephalus. I told myself, like, I'm gonna wait a while before we do any Thyreophorans, any, like, armored dinosaurs, because they're so labor-intensive, and, somebody convinced me to do it the other day. Maybe it was Lordy. But it's been fun. Everybody loves Ankylosaurs. I thought you were doing cousin lols. Yeah, they're very close relatives. They're both ankylosaurids, so they're from the same subgroup of ankylosaurs. Finding a fossil in another world would be a huge deal. Absolutely, yeah. Were the spikes ever used offensively, or were they strictly for defense? I don't know. That's a really good question. I mean, they wouldn't have been used offensively in the sense that they were like hunting prey or anything. These guys were herbivores. They've got very simple kind of leaf-shaped teeth that seem to be very well adapted for eating just kind of like basic ground cover plants like ferns and horsetails and stuff like that. So it's not like they were going after prey or anything. But, yeah, I don't know. The tail club would have been a pretty good offensive weapon if these guys ever decided to pick a fight. But whether or not they did, like, it's a hard question to really test, you know? We can speculate, but actually scientifically testing a question like that is tricky. Smooth this out in between. That's looking better. Yeah. Nice. Let me save this. Oh, and another thing. Let's go ahead and use our reduce brush here. Oop. So we can get rid of some of these triangles. I don't have to worry about this as much with my new computer. But on my old machine, I had to do this all the time. Make sure that I cut down on the level of detail so I don't cook my CPU. I wonder if this runs off the CPU or the GPU on this machine. I guess I could run Task Manager and find out. I'll do that later. And right here we've got the count at the bottom with the number of triangles. So 41,100, that's not too high. But I can make sure that I get rid of triangles where I don't necessarily need them, in the areas where like that level of detail is not warranted yet, like here in the tail. We haven't really worked on the tail much, and so I don't need a lot of detail. In the back too. guess some of the spikes. 24,000, yeah. That's good for now. Let's change our material. There we go. There's some nice contrast there. Good earth tone. Yeah. Let's see. Fossils holding laser guns. Is that like extraterrestrial fossils? Yeah. How do they figure out what dinosaurs ate back then? Oh, usually look at their teeth. That's usually the best indicator. Sometimes, occasionally, you'll find stomach contents, which is really, it's kind of rare, but it can be super informative. But it also raises the question, like, did this animal die because it ate something that it wasn't supposed to eat? Or, like, did it die during a famine, so the things that you're seeing it eat were, like, last resort foods? There was an ankylosaur paper that came out a little while ago. It was all over the news. Where they were talking all about, oh, it looks like it ate ferns and a lot of charcoal, too. Like, really interesting that these things were eating charcoal on the regular. And made me wonder, like, well, did it eat charcoal because there wasn't any food around? Because there were a bunch of forest fires and all the plants were gone and that's why it died? We don't know. So stomach contents are not always as informative as we'd like to think. Let me catch up the chat here. It's been a while. Besides from what their teeth look like. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good question, Aquarius. I think I might have the eggs of some evolved dinosaurs for lunch. Wow, Drop Bear. Oh. Emu eggs? I had to go up and collect some emu eggs once from an emu farm in northern Montana. That was a lot of fun. Right, but for mating fights and such is what I meant by offensively. Good question, Kitty. That is one of the ideas for what ankylosaur tail clubs were used for. But we don't really know. I mean, it's odd that a feature would evolve specifically for intraspecies fighting like that, but I guess it kind of happens in like bighorn sheep and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a good question. I think you would expect to find sexual dimorphism in that case then, where like the males and females would differ. Which, so far, we've never found sexual dimorphism, like differences between males and females, in a dinosaur. In terms of, like, you know, their bones or horns or frills or whatever. We think that the way they told each other apart was primarily through coloration, just like most modern birds. But yeah. Behavior doesn't get fossilized, unfortunately. Sometimes it does, but it's pretty rare, Mayorspace. Mayorspace is right, yeah. Yeah, but I know that they're theorizing all the time what different body parts might have been used for. That's true, yeah. Yeah, that's what my research is. That's like my particular branch of dinosaur paleontology. It's what I call functional behavioral morphology. Trying to figure out what different dinosaurs were using their different anatomical features for. And we'll be talking about that a lot once I start doing some illustrations for my new paper on here, which would be cool. And Aquarius asked, do you think there were any dinosaurs that copied other dinosaurs' vocals? That's why there are parrots today. A lot of birds will do that. Mockingbirds are a classic example of another bird that uses vocal mimicry. I don't know. We can't really say. That's sort of... If you can figure out a way to test that using fossils, I would be all ears, Aquarius. Let me know. Kitty says, well, maybe the club was a show of strength like the peacock's tail. Just me speculating for virility. Yes, but peacocks have extreme sexual dimorphism, where the males have these big showy tails and the females don't. And as far as we know, dinosaurs, none of them had skeletal sexual dimorphism. So as far as we know, both the males and females, these ankylosaurids had clubbed tails. We've never found an ankylosaurid without a clubbed tail. So, yeah. And we found them without tails, but it's just because the skeletons are incomplete. It's very rare, very, very rare that you find a complete dinosaur skeleton. There's another group called nodosaurids, which are a kind of ankylosaur that doesn't have a tail club, but their whole bodies look different. Their skulls are completely different. Their limbs look a little bit different. Their armor looks different. We know that they're actually different species and not just a male or a female, and not just a different growth stage either, because a lot of those are fully grown. We know through cutting open the bones and looking inside. How do you determine the gender of a fossil? You usually don't. That's the thing, is that like by just looking at the bones themselves, we've never been able to find like, you know, two different morphs like you can do with mammals. Often you can tell a male or a female mammal just by looking at their bones. The only way that you can determine the gender of a dinosaur, at least right now, is if you find one that's gravid, so it died with eggs inside its body, then obviously it's a female. Or, this is slightly controversial, but it seems to be generally well accepted right now, if you find it with medullary tissue inside of its bones. Medullary tissue is the special kind of bone that birds lay down in their marrow cavity. So like you'd have to cut open the bone and look. And it's basically like a calcium repository, like temporary storage. It gets stored there before it later gets used to produce eggshell. So only when modern birds are pregnant about to lay eggs do they have medullary bone. And that's been found in two different dinosaurs to my knowledge, Tyrannosaurus and Tenontosaurus. So it's the only two times we've ever actually been able to determine that a dinosaur was male or female, and they were female. So sometimes I like to joke that, well, maybe all dinosaurs are female because we've only ever found female ones so far. But yeah, I don't know. The only ones we've been able to positively identify have been female. So yeah. Especially the males and females are not showing dimorphism? Yeah, good question, yeah. Maybe it was their skin color that made the males attack females? Used to attract female. Yeah. They used it to attract a female. That's generally what we think, yeah. That like with modern birds, it's mostly coloration or changes in plumage. We know actually a lot of dinosaurs had feathers. So we think that's probably how they could tell male from female. It seems like every year there's a new dinosaur announced where it's like, oh, holy cow, ornithopods, some of them may have had feathers now. Ceratopsians, like there's weird filaments on their backs. Maybe those were analogous to feathers or something. So yeah. Anyway, I'm getting ready to wrap this up pretty soon, I think. I've been streaming for a good 3 hours so far. This has been a lot of fun. Appreciate everybody being here in chat. It's been good. Gonna sink the eye in a little bit right here. Make that face a little bit more gaunt. There we go. That's looking good. And let's give him a little nostril. Let me look at my skull for reference. Yeah. There we go. Looking nice. Looking very nice. Yeah, check that out, chat. Look at that. And, look at this. If I can get these oriented in the same way. Not too shabby, right? Starting to look like it. A little bit, at least. Little by little. Thyreophorans, the armored dinosaurs. You know, stegosaurs and ankylosaurs. Always the most difficult to sculpt. Yeah. Maybe a lot of dinosaurs had both genders. I think it was a joke, Aquarius. Yeah, I think most of them did. But yeah, and maybe some of them had like kind of in between stuff too, like some modern creatures do as well. Yeah, some maybe even been able to switch between, like some modern creatures can. And we, you know, might never know about most of them. Sort of thing doesn't fossilize often. Cool. All right, let's see. Before I wrap things up here, let's Let's see who's online, whom we can raid right now. Let's see. Raid channel. Not a lot of options, it looks like. iOS doesn't seem to be online. Oh, no, iOS is online. We're going to go say hi to iOS. And I can thank her for helping me set up this computer, too. So anyway, I've had a ton of fun just doing some paleontologizing with everybody. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for all the great questions and all that. And if you're available tomorrow around the same time, I will be here then, too. Maybe a little earlier tomorrow. We'll see. Might have my reading group tomorrow. Thanks for the stream. See you next time. Thanks, Jay Leand. Yeah, if you stick around for just a minute, we'll go say hi to iOS real quick. Holla. Yeah, armchair astronaut. Yeah. So let's see here. iOS. Ooh, iOS looks like she's playing something cool. Yeah. Let's go say hi to iOS. Anyway, everybody, thanks for being here. Anyway, stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for doing some paleontologizing with me. And this isn't working properly again. Leave. See ya. Come on, OBS. Where's the countdown thing? iOS. Start raid. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's go say hi.